All right, everyone. Welcome back to the Wikid Podcast. You're here for episode number 3, and I'm Michael Nub Guy on Twitter. I'm one of the co-founders of Wikid Publishing, and I'm here to welcome some of the Wikid creators to chat with us today. Hey, guys.
Hey, good to be here.
Hey, guys.
Why don't you go ahead and introduce yourselves just briefly and say who you are and your comic. Jack Irons, would you like to start?
Yeah, sure, I'll go. I'm Cody Fernandez, writer, creator, Jack Irons, the Steel Cowboy. A lot of info out there. I'm sure we'll talk some more about it during the podcast.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure we're going to get into all of that fun stuff. And then we have next, I believe Dan is first time. You may know Dan on Twitter as Molly Beans, and this is the first time, so welcome.
Thanks for having me on. Yeah, like you said, I'm Dan Sacro. I'm the creator of Molly Beans, a twice weekly webcomic that I put up every Wednesday and Friday over at mollybeans.com, and it's been running since February 2016. There's about 300 strips up there in the archives, and I'm also the writer-creator of Adobe Kroger.
Sorry to interrupt. Since it is your first time, why don't you tell us a little bit more about some of your projects and what they are about?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I'll start with Molly Beans, since that's what everyone is familiar with most. Okay, Molly Beans is, like I said, it's a twice weekly webcomic. I put it up twice a week, Wednesdays and Fridays. And it centers around the daily life of the titular character, Molly Beans, which is sort of an inside joke. If you check out Urban Dictionary, her name is actually slang for amphetamine capsules. And a few readers have picked up on that, and I just think
that's pretty good. I can see the connection. Yeah.
And one of the reasons I went with that name is a lot of times when you're working in technology, you feel like you need some amphetamine capsules. So.
Just to keep you going, right?
Just to keep you going, yeah. So, the content of the strip itself consists of tech jokes, developer humor, and things like that. That's interspersed with a little bit of philosophy and slice of life dramedy.
Wow, so a little bit of different stuff going on in it, really.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of my attempt at a Peanuts or a Calvin and Hobbes with technology mixed in, because I was a huge fan of both of those strips growing up, and I really love the fact that profound truths are often communicated in those mediums. So I did my best to do the same with Molly Beans.
Wow. And how many issues did you say or strips do you have right now?
Just over 300. It's been going since February 2016, and I haven't missed a day since. Even if I have technical problems, I just put up a joke strip that says I'll be back as soon as I can. So I do my best to keep the updates consistent.
Nice.
So, Molly Beans herself, she's very Aristotelian in her philosophy, which means she's a rabid empiricist and realist, and she believes that the past is not really the ideal state, but that we're constantly working towards an ideal future. And like the Platonic counterpart to that would be the future is the ideal, and we're always decaying away from it. And she believes the opposite. So every day she wakes up trying to improve her life and the lives of everyone around her through her productive work and her virtuous living. So that's
inspiring message, actually.
Well, thank you. So that's Molly Beans, and I also, like you said, I also am the writer creator of a property called Adobe Kroger, which consists currently of a novel called Adobe Kroger Knight Errant, available on Amazon right now, and a corresponding audiobook available on Audible. And those are both freely available right now. The narrator for the audiobook is a young lady by the name of Addison Peacock, who's a fantastic voiceover actress. And I definitely want everyone to know about her as well. She really brings the book to life in the audiobook, and I highly recommend checking that out. Not just for my own personal benefit, but I think it's a damn good story. And the character is something that I think is very relatable. So much so that I'm doubling down on the character and releasing a comic book based upon her adventures prior to the novel, called Adobe Kroger Dame Commander. Now, a little bit more about the world. Adobe Kroger takes place in a world in which Charlemagne and the 12 peers of his court were more than just a mere symbol of Christian bravery against the Saracen hordes, but they were actually the very first exemplar, which in this world are human beings who have come so close to the source of the divine light of creation that they are, for all intents and purposes, half human and half angel. So they are literally miracle workers.
Wow.
And even so, these original 13 exemplar back in the day of Charlemagne's court knew that they alone would not suffice to check the power of their supernatural adversaries, who called themselves the Scions. And the Scions were a loosely confederated group of darker entities who, if you were to take the exemplar's word for it, they sought to dominate God's world in recompense for having been cast out from God's world. So they're trying to reclaim what they believe is rightfully theirs. So in order to combat the Scions, each of the 13 exemplar sought out and instructed 13 promising students and taught them. And the resulting 169 individuals became known as the Templar. After that, the Templars each taught 13, and those became the judges. And the judges each sought out and instructed 13, and those became the Sentinels. Once they had these numbers, they formed the Order of the Carolingian Cross, which was sort of a holy bastion against dark entities, at least initially. So at this point, yeah, go ahead.
I'm going to ask a question. What kind of a time frame or time period are we looking at? Is this ancient times, or are we looking at more modern times, or both, perhaps?
Well, there's both. I mean, what I'm explaining right now is sort of the origins of the world back in Charlemagne's era.
Wow. Okay.
Okay.
That's really cool. Okay.
Yeah. So at this point, they were prepared to combat the threat, but they needed more of a combined arms advantage. So they began to use their power and influence to recruit or forcibly transcript magical practitioners and non-magical specialists, and with them in the fold, they basically began to exact their influence over the entirety of Western civilization, which continues to this day. So fast forward to modern day, we have a situation in which almost every governmental organization, entity in the world is somehow influenced by the Order of the Carolingian Cross covertly. And everyone from presidents of countries down to the lowliest law enforcement agents report to someone in the Order of the Carolingian Cross, whether they know it or not. And so we start here with, Adobe Kroger, who is a very small fish in a very large ocean. She's a very low-ranking knight on active duty, and the comic opens on her very first mission with a wizard named Casey Crumb and a Myrmidon, who is a non-magical combat expert named Reese Connolly. And Adobe is really just, she's an every girl, and she isn't a super genius, but she's got some chops, and more importantly, she's got like severe personal problems that her position in the order has only served to exacerbate. So there'll be themes of childhood trauma, parental abandonment, addiction, and all that sort of thing. It's pretty, it's very much a character-driven story with action, adventure, occult trappings.
That's awesome, man. That sounds really exciting. So there's going to be a lot of action and a lot of drama to look forward to, I would imagine.
Absolutely. Like the first issue is going to have a lot of knockdown, drag out, superhero level fisticuffs. But under that, we if you read the first 5 pages that I showed you in the chat, you can already see friction in the team. And as the next few pages unfold, you'll see that Adobe has a speech impediment. She stutters terribly. And her power actually relies upon vocalization. So in the midst of combat, if she can't properly vocalize, there's going to be trouble.
Wow, interesting. That's cool. That adds in like an element, that hindering element. You know, that you're not perfectly, so she's just your average person.
Exactly, and that and her stuttering is very important in the story, in the novel, and it will also factor in very seriously in the comic itself. So. Pretty excited. I can't wait to see. Leandro Panganiban is the artist, and he's god tier, and I'm so thrilled to be able to work with him, and I just can't wait to show off his next work. And it's going to be lettered by Eric Weathers, who did a lot of stuff for Jawbreakers and a lot of other things, and he's damn good. He turned around the first 5 pages in a single evening, and he works very fast, and he comes at a very reasonable rate, so thrilled to have him on board too.
Whoa, you get the guy who lettered Jawbreakers, Dan?
Yeah, absolutely.
What?
Wow,
Oh,
wow! It
shit.
seems like the only two people it seems like we got everyone who's worked for diversity in comics except John Malin and Brett Smith.
Hey, there's still time.
Well, Brett Smith will be coloring the cover.
What?
Okay, then we got everyone but John Malin and
Time. We're already up, man. We're already doing it, yo. Look at that. Fast. You guys work fast.
I'm just with that, like I said, like we got everyone but John Malin.
Speaking of which, we were actually just joined by Ebi Canales, who worked on DNC's Ironsights, and so welcome. Why don't you tell us your name and your comic and stuff?
And 1 sec, is anyone else hearing music in the background?
What kind of music?
You know, I was hearing some kind of music. Not anymore though.
Somebody can people check their phones and make sure they're turned off or something?
Let me see. One second. Can you hear it now?
I don't hear it now, but
Okay.
I swear I can hear it. I would just recommend that everyone check your phones and make sure they're turned off. Trust me, nothing's more awkward than your ringtone going up in the middle of the podcast.
That may have been mine. My bad. Was it like a ring or a beep or something?
I don't know. I heard something. Like I'm assuming it was somebody's phone though.
Seems we're good now, folks. Let's let Ebi do his thing, huh?
It wasn't my phone. My ringtone is actually the screams of my enemies. So
so we should probably keep that one on then. Definitely keep that one on. But welcome. We're glad that you're able to make it.
Thank you.
I heard it.
Are you sure you aren't hearing things?
Yeah, I'm hearing music now. Something's playing on the background.
Okay. Is it gone now?
It's. I hear a little bit. I hear a little bit.
It's pretty catchy, actually.
I think it is Wicked. I heard it earlier. I just didn't say anything because it had disappeared. but yeah, if you watch your emblem, it's you, but only when you speak. So I'm assuming you're doing some kind of push to talk thing, maybe.
No.
But no. Okay.
No push to talk, and I'm wearing headphones, so I'm a little surprised you can hear it. But I shall refrain.
Well, there we go.
Well, this is like some kind of whodunit. Who's the one who's playing music in the background while he's talking?
Like I said, it's not me.
Oh, you know what I bet it is? It's because I'm wearing headphones with a microphone, so it's probably catching the background noise from the earbud, I bet.
Maybe.
Yeah,
Doesn't sound plausible enough. No one was like, nah, maybe. They're just like dead silence. But at any rate, it is done. So why don't you go ahead and now introduce yourself free of the distraction.
Sure. Hi, I'm Ebi Canales. I'm the guy who drew Ironsights for your boy Zach, and also the guy who wrote and drew Decimators for Wikid Publishing for this fine gentleman here, which is, if I believe correctly, you're about to publish issue 2 right now, right?
That's right. Mm-hmm. We have it off the printer. He's proofing it out right now, and we should be printing it and getting shipped within a week or so.
Cool. Because I saw the test for the issue 2 cover, and I really liked it. It's looking really sleek.
Yeah, you did an amazing job with the painting on it, and just really brought it to life, and then keeping the motif going. I wanted to keep the motif from the first issue with the yellow and the trigger warning design. I think it was brilliant.
Yeah, I like that because the whole trigger warning thing was just a thing that I came up with for the first issue, but I didn't really know how we were going to make the whole thing uniform looking, and you guys really pulled that out really well. I really like it.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, and there's actually a bit of a surprise in the inside as well. I'm not sure you've seen if I showed you that little part, but you remember how last issue the inside has a trigger warning and has that blood splatter?
Oh yeah.
I decided maybe it'd be fun to mix it up this time and go with the bullet holes, so it kind of adds a little bit of a different element to it,
Nice.
Yeah,
I like that you guys aren't keeping it just mechanical and automatized. You're actually getting all artistic on it. I like
right, that. Exactly. Kind of make it a little bit more unique and give a little more to the reader,
Yeah, kudos, guy. I really like that idea.
Good. Well, I think I'm glad to hear it. And speaking of which, how are things going with Decimators? I mean, I know you just finished up issue, was it 18 recently?
Yeah, I wrapped up season 1 of Decimators, so to speak, and I don't know. I left some ends without, some loose ends,
So now
just in
that you've
case I want to.
finished, with all this free time, I mean, what are you doing with yourself?
Oh no, I have zero free time right now. I'm
Oh
drawing
wow!
two comics, and a shitload of commissions. Can I say shit on a
Oh yeah,
hangout?
go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay,
There
sorry,
we
I
go.
swear a
No
lot.
podcast commission that we care about as far as that.
That's what I thought. That's a smart thing to swear. Smart people swear a lot. That's just science.
Study says that, scientists have said, they've shown in the past.
And I think it's accurate. But yeah, I'm drawing 2 comics right now. I'm drawing Tombstone Blues for Jacob Morris, also known as Artemis Worm on Twitter, which is a dark urban fantasy tale about a necromancer for hire who hunts goblins and other mythical creatures and solves mysteries and stuff. And it's really really cool. I'm having the time of my life drawing that.
Really? Yeah, it looks fun.
Yeah.
That mad scientist character looks pretty wild.
Right? No, it's pretty good. It's actually he's a goblin butcher. He
Oh,
butchers people for money, and it's really great. I mean, the moment I read on the script that we have an evil cyberpunk goblin guy carving up people and selling the parts to the mob, and whoa, dude, I totally have to draw
whoa.
that.
Yeah, that sounds amazing, dude. That's
Yeah,
actually
no, it's
really quite clever and unique.
this guy Jacob has probably of all the people I've worked with, he has the most insane world building of them all. He has like all these factions in his mind, all the setup perfectly planned. I mean, it's amazing. This guy should be designing role playing games for some company or something.
Yeah,
And
I can see it.
no, totally. It's I mean, we can actually design an RPG based on Necromancer. I can totally see that working.
Mm. Hmm.
And apart from that, I'm also drawing the Abductables for Michael Derrick. I don't know if we had him on board once.
Sorry, what was that?
Michael Derrick. Did we have Michael Derrick on board for a hangout, or was it the
No, I'm not.
that?
I don't believe so. Is that you guys remember that, or am I mistaken?
No, I don't think he's been on there.
That was a different mic. Different mic there,
Ah,
Canales.
yeah. But Mike
Yeah,
Derrick,
sorry about that, Mike.
no, it's all good. But Mike Derrick, he's a new creator, and you said you're working on him with the Abductables, right? That's kind of like a reversal on the whole alien abductee story. Is that right?
Yeah, it's basically what would happen if aliens abducted the wrong motherfucker. Basically, they make the mistake. There's these tiny gray guys who are really scrawny and have no real physical ability. They make the mistake of abducting this huge muscle bound, probably military guy, and he wakes up in the middle of a probing procedure and he goes berserk. He kills every last one of them in the most brutal fashion, I must say.
That's awesome, dude. And when is that coming out? Are those both going to be crowdfunded or?
Yeah, they're both coming to Indiegogo in early 2019. I hope. I'm halfway done with the Abductables, and yeah, I'm almost finished with the pitch for Tombstone Blues too. So yeah, I think January 2019 would be a good time to start looking for them online.
Nice. That's awesome, man. So you're staying busy.
Oh yeah. No, I have a lot of work after the success of Ironsights. Everyone seems to want to work with me, and I'm honored and humbled.
Well, that is excellent, man.
If I may interject, I wanted to work with Ibai ever since I read one panel in Ironsights in which Conway is studying the security footage, and he says, "Damn, why do I always have to pee when something exciting happens?" That's probably the most relatable panel I've ever read in any book ever.
That's all on Zach. I'm just the artist. The dialogues are all his.
Yeah, but the way you have him standing up with that
Mm.
shocked look on his face, it was perfect. It was the most well-acted panel in the entire book, I think.
Thank you. I hear that a lot. Apparently people like the acting in my comics, not like the expressions I put on my characters' faces.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, if you just look at this one page here, the expressions are fantastic. You have a wide range of he looks like he's concentrating, then he's confused, then he's shocked. and they're all distinct and very, very well done.
Thanks. Yeah, I think that's my forte. That's the acting. You know, Zach actually brought it up a couple of times when we talked about the Ironsights before we began working on it. He told me that he wanted to work with me because he saw this as a movie, and a movie needs actors. He could see the faces of the guys, how they were supposed to look, how they were supposed to sound, and that's why he didn't contact John Melling or any of the other guys. He wanted a guy who's really into the whole giving people personalities and expressions and all that.
Yeah, speaking of that, I mean, I could definitely see this being made into a Netflix series. I mean, it has a very Breaking Bad feel to it with the cartel and the naked, unabashed violence and all the head trauma, which was fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah, whatever you write for me, make sure there's lots of exploding heads, because that's probably my favorite thing to draw.
And now in Decimators, I have to say, I noticed that as well. That your faces are very, you see the expressions on them quite clearly and able to read the emotions really well.
Yeah, actually, won the Deadpool way and unexplainably made the masks expressive.
Oh, that's interesting. I'm actually looking at a panel right now, and I actually seeing that. I did not notice that necessary and that's really quite interesting. Like,
yeah, I took the.
Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I took the artistic license because when you have a guy in a mask like let's say Bane in The Dark Knight Rises, the guy can still act by the mimic and the movements and all that. But in a comic, it's since it's a static thing, I think it's an acceptable license to give the masks a slight expression. To you see Andrew Garfield in the Spider-Man movies, and the guy is like really, he's flailing his arms all the time, and he's really expressive with his body because he knows that his face is invisible under the mask. But when you can't do that on a comic, what you do is you give the masks slight expressions, to compensate for that.
And it really works, I have to say. Like, you can, and they aren't overdone. Like you said, they're very subtle actually, and like there's like a slight smile or grimace, or you can really bring across emotion, even on their mask. So it's quite interesting.
Thank you. As I always say, if you don't have characters, you don't have expressions, you don't have characters. You don't have characters, you don't have a story.
Wow, so that's really a big deal then for new creators. You would say an artist definitely focus on expression and trying to make that come across.
Yeah, no, I think the Japanese are masters on that. They really can convey a lot of emotion with not a really big deal of lines and art. They're like really compact and concise, and still they're able to convey a lot of emotions and feelings.
Oh, I absolutely agree. I mean, traditionally, manga has been much more character-driven than event-driven anyway.
I think that comes back to kabuki theater, honestly, the big
Really?
outrageous. Just because if you ever watch any kabuki theater, it's you don't even have to know what's going on because they're so loud and expressive. You know what's going on. You don't have to know the language, I guess is what I meant.
Yeah.
It's I think manga does a lot of that too. That's probably how it even first got a foothold over here before translations, is because the art was, you were able to follow it through the art and the expressions. And yeah, it's a trip. It's a trip.
Yeah, I'm kind of with Cody on that one. I mean, like, Cody on that one. In fact, I think actually, does anyone know that the first manga that got released stateside was actually through Marvel's Epic imprint back in the day?
Huh.
No,
Yeah, I didn't know that until I watched Razor Fist's tribute video to Stan Lee.
Yeah, I can't believe that, because I think the parable, the story that Stanley made with Moebius, he was published through Epic, right?
Oh yeah, it was. Yeah, that's right. And actually, eBay, I mean, like, you're probably more plugged into the bande dessinée scene than the rest of us are, aren't you?
Yeah, I sort of do, because I was half raised in Belgium, where my parents migrated after the whole Franco thing. And yeah, my dad would buy me, like, secondhand stacks of bande dessinée. And I didn't really know what I was reading because I didn't speak French at the time. So I just focused on the art and the expressions and all that, and the storytelling.
Yeah, because like that's something I hear, which I hear your Bundesliga get praised for is just like how good the art is over there.
Yeah, it's a completely different model, because in America you have to produce one comic per month, and in Europe they take their time. They produce like one shot every year, maybe twice a year, something like that. But it's really artisanal. They put a lot of time, a lot of thought in it. The Bundesliga writers are regarded as actual legit writers. They go through the whole process, and the artists are. I don't know if I told you guys about my favorite Bundesliga of all time. It's called Requiem Chevalier Vampire, Requiem Vampire Knight.
No, I don't think you have.
Oh, you guys need to Google that up. It's amazing. It's I think it's a yearly comic. It's about 60 pages, but every page is a painting. Every panel actually is a painting. It's oil painting, really baroque looking. It's insane. It's amazing.
Like, is this good enough to be hung in the Louvre?
Oh yeah, no, dude. You have, if you ever get your hands on one of those original pages, you have to frame those and hang them up in your living room, because the art is amazing.
Holy crap! This is written by Pat Mills.
Oh yeah. Pat Mills himself. Yeah, the guy behind Judge Dredd and Martial Law and all that.
The art kind of gives me vibes of what's that? Vampire D a little bit.
Vampire Hunter D. Yeah.
Yeah. It's. I think it's got its influences on that. It's got a lot of. It's also a bit of Hellraiser every here and there. It's like this. I think it's the ultimate gothic comic.
Really?
Oh my god! I mean, like I love Pat Mills. I mean, like Judge Dredd is amazing, and I love the fuck out of Slain.
Oh yeah, no, Slain is amazing, fam.
Slain is great, but oh my god, can it get trippy?
Yeah, I think he's on some Viking mushrooms while he's.
No, he's Celtic.
I'm sure. Didn't those guys? I think it's in the comic. They took drugs and they thought they turned into massive hulking humanoids while they were in battle.
Oh man, that's hilarious. Dude, this art really is quite detailed, though. It is quite intricate.
Yeah, no, that's why I say that this couldn't be done in a monthly basis. You have to wait a whole year for every issue, because look at the work this guy put on it. It's amazing.
Yeah, it is amazing. It's kind of comparable maybe to like if the manga Berserk, how he's taking some work on it.
Yeah, the thing is that mangas are actually done by a team of people. You're probably the guy writing it and maybe doing the rough sketches, and then you have like half a dozen guys finishing.
Yeah, their schedule is just ridiculous. But Berserk, actually, I think it is just the one guy, and that's why it takes so long. It's his vision he wants to put on paper, and and his art is just, my God, it's incredible. But mangaka mostly, they have a shit time. I am so glad I'm a Western comics writer.
Yeah,
really.
Yeah. You want to know how bad it can get? Like the guy who created One Piece, he a few years ago he put out an ad asking for an assistant, and no joke, in that ad he says the assistant must be prepared to die for One Piece, and he wasn't being hyperbolic.
What?
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah, that's a well-known.
Hey guys.
Yeah. Yo.
So, are we jumping into a general conversation before all the creators get?
I did mine quick, and everybody else got a spiel, so that's kind of how it happened, Matt. But you guys should go ahead. I did mine quick. Everybody else gets the whole
Cody. I figured we'd be going back to your stuff later anyway, Cody, when we start talking about the print comics. But you can go ahead.
Yeah. No, I get you. I was just mentioning,
Well, yeah.
We kind of
not the only one.
There on got a little excited there. But so why don't we go to the next creator to introduce themselves? If I believe Matt, would you like to go?
Sure. Hello, I'm Matt Train. I write and created McKinney Chronicles and Mythix. McKinney Chronicles is a sci-fi space opera with a touch of real science to it in the style format of a Horatio Hornblower story. It follows the character Mason McKinnon and her career as a Space Forces officer. And Mythix is about I guess you could probably call her a paranormal investigator, Althea Fletcher, who takes on cases that involve the supernatural. In this, now I'm beginning to John Constantine Hellblazer type of story with her.
Sorry, did you cut out for anyone else there for a second?
Yep. I think it's when Aaron cut out. It kind of messed.
Oh, okay. Would you mind repeating that last sentence for us?
Well, basically now I've gone a more Hellblazer kind of route for her. Mixed in with a little bit of The Witcher.
Now, that brings up an interesting question. Now, is your character an anti-hero in the same way as John Constantine?
Somewhat, except that I don't think she'll go to extremes of counting people into doing things.
So she's not going to be getting other people to do her dirty work, basically.
No, she's more of a hands-on kind of person, and she's also not a chain smoker.
Well, that's definitely a positive thing. That didn't work out for John too well, but
well, it got cured, right?
Yeah, I guess it worked out in the end.
Technically, John Constantine cured cancer, so there's that.
That's true. We really should be looking into that. There really is something there. But so Mythix and how does that going to play into the shared universe, and how is all of this story? How do you see that going forward?
Well, eventually she's going to cross paths with Maeve from Changeling and Adobe Kroger, which it's going to be really interesting to see how these characters will work together.
Or even if they will work together, perhaps there could be tension. I mean, who knows when first meetings take place? It's always interesting to see how characters will react.
Yeah, especially when Alfie will meet Maeve when she's 14, and she doesn't want to have kids involved with any danger.
And I'm sure Maeve won't appreciate that at all.
Probably not.
I think I would have that take.
Really?
I don't know. I mean, I think the best way I can put it out is if I know it, if I get myself in Maeve's headspace, I think she'd be kind of interested in what Althea does for a living, but that's kind of like she might be a shy girl, but she's curious too.
And when things start getting weird, she's got to know what's going down.
Yeah, and also, I mean, she's a teenager, and everyone knows, when you tell a teenager not to do something, what are they going to do?
Yeah, that's very true. And that is an interesting point to bring up too, because Maeve is probably the youngest character out of any of the Wikid books, so it's kind of a different perspective than we're seeing from some of the other characters.
Yeah, I kind of a friend of me and Matt sort of described her as the little sister of the indie comic scene.
Nice.
Just because there's no one else. Well, no one else has made a book with an underage character. To be honest, at least not one that I can think of. At least in our corner.
Yeah, no, that's very true. And Matt, with McKinney Chronicles, do you want to tell us a little bit about that and maybe update us on how you're doing with that?
Well, right now I've got the 6 pages done in inks. It's all drawn up. All I'm waiting on is the colors and the lettering.
That's awesome.
Unfortunately, Dropbox decided to be a pain and screwed up the colors for page 2, so I don't have that yet to be sewn.
That's too bad. I recommend Google Drive if you're looking for a better version, perhaps. I like it a little bit better myself.
Yeah, I've never had that problem with Google Drive. I've had that problem with Twitter, though. I've got an awesome version of the cover we'll see on issue #1 that's blue instead of the color it is because of Twitter. It's weird as hell.
You know, the funny thing is, Dropbox decided that blue was black.
Whoa.
Huh.
I've heard orange is the new black, but blue? That's different.
Apparently, yeah. Hey,
Yeah, I don't know what's wrong with Twitter. I always use it as a preview. You know, when I have to send a call to work, I always tell the guy, "This is just a preview. If you want the original file, just email me and I'll send it to you because what you see on Reddit doesn't have anything to do with the actual colors on the thing."
Wow. Yeah, that can be tricky. Making sure the colors are right, especially coming from my perspective, you know, making sure it gets there before it goes to print is like essential. We had an issue with a comic a little while back where we were getting a lot of colorization issues due to a program we were using, so we had to kind of switch it up and make sure that we fixed that before it went out. But Matt, you said you were got 6 pages finished and just kind of waiting for the colors. So what is the plans going forward? What are your plans for the comic for the first issue?
Well, I decided to rework the script a bit.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
Yeah, so we're going to be seeing. I felt like that the first issue script, the original one that sub 5 locked down, didn't go into Maisie as a character more. So I decided that after 6 pages, it'll go back a few days. We'll see a much larger ship, which is the Lexington's mothership, the Pearl of Victory, and that's where we'll meet characters such as the ship's doctor and a few of the cameo characters.
That sounds exciting.
Hey, Matt, can I ask?
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I'm sorry to interrupt. Matt, can I ask you these fantastic illustrations of your character and her power armor? Who's responsible for those?
Michael Santos. He does not have a Twitter account, but if you want to know where to check out his work, I can link everyone to his DeviantArt account in the chat.
Yeah, he's very good. I love the detail he put into that power armor.
Yeah, they really came out.
For you to stay alive in space.
Yeah, those are very essential, aren't they?
Yeah, I mean, every time you see a Star Trek, one of the new Star Trek movies, and you see people fly out in space, you just have to wonder, why aren't they wearing spacesuits?
That's a good question.
The Navy has, whenever their ships go into battle, they have them wear life jackets, life preservers.
Which one was that?
I believe whenever the Navy goes into battle.
Oh yeah. I mean, that makes sense. It just makes plain sense if you really think about it. But there's nothing for space. You know, that's interesting. The new Star Trek movies, I think they're fun, but they have some issues, I think.
Yeah, now they've got an issue with getting Chris Pine back.
So that's a whole nother issue.
Matt, Sorry, Matt, I noticed that in the sequential pages I saw for McKinney Chronicles, the characters, even inside the ship, are in full gear with helmets. Because at any moment, the ship could depressurize. That's pretty cool.
Yep. It's another thing. Yep, it's the only other comic or TV show would be the Honor Harrington universe in comics and books. And with TV, it's The Expanse.
Oh, I watched a little bit of The Expanse. It's actually quite good, yes. They seem to really want to kind of depict a realistic view of their world.
And it's the hulls are very easily punctured by bullets. So you're going to need a spacesuit on, otherwise you're going to die when the hull is breached.
Wow.
Yeah, as far as the Honorverse is concerned, I think Dave Weber wrote a whole thesis on the technology behind how everything works. It's very intricate.
Oh yeah, when he did his source book for the series, he even explained how to build a fleet in that universe.
Well, he was a huge fan of the Royal Navy, so he basically designed his universe so it would behave like an old-timey naval battle.
Yep. Although, it is interesting how space warfare does make use of that.
Mm-hmm.
The majority of engagements will be from extremely long distance, so what you're going to need, what any ship of war needs, are torpedoes and missiles for long range, medium range railguns, and short range Gatling guns.
Yeah, one thing I really liked is how the story revolved around how the technology evolved over time, and that was pretty cool. So, and I noticed that you did a lot of that kind of world building for McKinney Chronicles. So, is there a similar kind of technology for how the ships operate in McKinney Chronicles?
In a way, for the most part, I try not to go into too much detail about how the technology works, mainly because I don't understand a lot of what real life space physics, how they work, and how technology could advance to make it seem more realistic, such as there is the same kind of gravity system seen in Star Trek, but I've made a limited kind of thing for a smaller ship like the Lexington, where if it goes in the battle, it's going to need all the power it can get. So they shut down the artificial gravity.
So you kind of doing you like you said, you're not trying to go too deep into it, but at the same time, you're still trying to flesh it out and kind of explore some of the science behind it a little bit.
Yeah, it also give the technology, the ships, some limits to what they can do.
These aren't just things that can do, unlimited. They have unlimited power and weapons and armor, all that kind of stuff.
Pretty much, it's.
And I like that. I like that a lot because if you know what ships can and can't do, then all of a sudden when Maisie gets into a situation, you're like, crap, how's she going to get out of this? It's not like she has a magic get out of jail free button.
Right. One thing I wanted to mention is, earlier you were talking about the how they're like ships, spaceships are like, they kind of are very similar to, terminology and other things like that with, actual naval ships. And it reminded me of a quote that was actually President Kennedy said, and he was talking about space and saying that this is the new ocean. So it's really interesting, kind of like to hear those parallels and hear you talk about that, And I was wondering, does that play into? Do you also similarly view that as in McKinney Chronicles? Do you take a similar stance?
Something like that, except that I think that the big difference that I have with McKinney Chronicles and the Honorverse is that David Weber built up an empire. By the time Maisie becomes an admiral, the nation that she serves will be in the death throes, where we'll see a star nation that's been pretty much crippled by poor economic decisions and poor politicians.
Kind of so it's an empire at the on its end. It's on its way out.
Pretty much, and during a time that sees during the admiral years, Parvel will be dealing with civil wars and the possibility of building something new.
Wow. That sounds really cool. I like that, kind of that idea of going forward and trying to rebuild after everything is lost. It's a really powerful idea.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And thank you for making her a ginger.
It's really funny how that turned out, because I came up with the character back in 2012, long before I've ever heard of Rex.
No, I agree. I'm a lifelong ginger lover, and I appreciate that you guys are putting more ginger fictional characters up there.
That's fun. Yeah, you don't see it as often. So it is really nice to see.
And they're anti ginger washing them now on social media and pop culture, and they're turning every ginger into black guys.
I know, what the hell.
What?
Yeah, really. What's going on with that?
There's precious few gingers as it is without wiping them out.
They have trouble enough. Sorry. I was going to make that.
No, please do.
I was going to say that they have enough trouble already with them not having soul and all that, Yeah, I was being an asshole. Sorry.
That's okay. We had to do it. Someone had to do it. Not you, then.
I mean, it's not like there's a ginger in this hangout right now.
Or is there?
I'm out. I was told there would be gingers here.
Yeah, where are the gingers at, yo?
Hi.
Are you really?
I'm technically a day walker. I have red flecks in my beard, but that's as far as I go.
I have, thanks to my dad, I got a beard that is very, very ginger.
Blowing the beard?
For some reason my hair kind of can't. My hair's kind of dirty blonde, but not my beard.
Well, that's acceptable. You count as a ginger then.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Yeah, back when my dad had hair, he when he was in high school, he used to get called Fireball 500.
Oh wow! Did you get any of that, or was it not so bad because it's just the beard?
Not really. It's just like, not really, but like, really, I don't. Honestly, like my beard did not really come in. It didn't really come. My beard really didn't come in really well till like my 20s, my early 20s actually. So like pretty much through high school, I was growing really awkward facial hair.
Yeah, we all went through that phase. Well, I don't know. Who cares a beard? Anyone willing to admit?
Well, I have a beard, and when I was in high school, I actually grew half of it came in silver when I was 17 years old. It was very strange.
Also, another thing I got, thanks to my dad, is that even though I'm 28, I've already got a receding hairline.
Oh, brutal, dude.
You and my little brother can commiserate.
Really?
Yeah, my little brother started going bald when he was 22.
Ouch.
Poor
This
bastard.
is nothing. This is nothing compared to my brother, though. My brother's 26. He's probably got it worse than me, and like no joke, when he was living with me, every time I would walk inside his room, without missing a beat, he'd slap on a hat.
One of those guys, always wearing a hat.
I think my brother was in denial that he was going bald.
Oh, that's sad. Poor him.
It's tough for a man, dude. It's tough for a man to see, the hair that he's grown used to just suddenly disappear.
Damn, dude.
I don't know. I just took to just shaving my head just because, like, what the fuck? It's gonna go away anyway.
Go all out, man. Go, But so, if you want, would you like to maybe talk a little about your comic, Brett, a little bit?
Yeah, sure, why not? Okay. Okay. So I'm Brett McGowan, and I am the writer/creator of Changeling, which I do with probably the most talented Wikid art team, Victor Campon and Ginger Foxy.
Nice.
They have yet to turn in something I didn't like.
And what is going on with the current state of your comic?
Okay, so Victor and Ginger managed to complete a cover. Right now, what I'm having Victor do is just sort of pen a few pages just to sort of gauge people's interest and gauge/draw up interest. And there's a couple pages he drew from what we consider the most exciting part of issue 1 that Ginger's currently coloring. Although, I mean, Ginger works fast, but she's just got a problem where she doesn't always have access to her boyfriend's PC.
Okay.
So yeah, she can't get stuff done as quickly as she'd like. Which is why you should be donating to our Patreon so that if we can get it to like 1,000 a month. Hey, there's Aaron.
And
I see you.
Welcome.
Yeah. So yeah, if we can get, I'm hoping if we get the Patreon to like 1,000 a month, we're gonna buy Ginger her own PC, and that is a good reason to be giving us money.
Now, have you thought about doing an Indiegogo to try and do that by any chance?
I've looked at that, and I honestly like the Patreon model a lot better, just because in comparison to the Indiegogo model, the Patreon is much more sustainable long term.
Interesting. Yeah, I could really see that.
It lets you build a strong community around your product.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, I think as a freelance artist, the Patreon thing is actually better because it provides you with a steady money income as opposed to the Indiegogo, which is a one-time thing only.
Yeah.
well, there's nobody who said there's nothing that could say that you can't use both.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's true. Sack has both, so
I guess, but just like I don't know. I mean, like there's a reason there's a reason why I'm more or less ripping every page out of the Rags team's playbook.
They are a good model to look at.
Hey, if you're gonna steal from someone who's successful, right?
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Completely agree.
Actually, yeah. I mean, like Ebi, one of your country's great artists, said that good artists create, but great artists steal.
Yeah, no, that's correct. That was Picasso, right?
Yep.
Yeah, no, completely agree. I mean, we all have to learn somewhere, so why not just learn from the best? But what is learning if not copying from somebody better than you?
I literally just read this.
Is it stealing
yesterday.
if you're doing what's successful, though?
Well, I believe, it's interesting. I was just reading this yesterday. I think it was Steven Spielberg who said this. He calls it the filter, and it's like the things that inspire you and the things that you watch, and you will take these ideas and these things, and you will culminate them, and you will think about them, and you'll create things from them. So it's not stealing necessarily. It's really just a creative process.
Exactly. I guess, yeah, pretty much. But yeah, that's kind of what. But yeah, I'm more or less focusing on building up the community around Changeling. Although, if I have a goal at this point, it's that I want to get the first issue done within the first half of 2019. Hey, there's a kitty.
Kitty.
Sure knows how to capture our attention, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Now I know where Maeve gets that from.
I'm more of a dog. I don't hate cats, but I am more of a dog person. No, she did not. That's not me. That is. Trust me, if she was getting it from me, she'd like dogs.
Are you sure? I think there's a little bit of Maeve in you, maybe.
There it is, but yeah, there's. I mean, like
a little Maeve too.
There it is, but look. I've only had one cat. I've had more dogs growing up.
But Maeve does not have a dog.
She does not have a dog.
Maeve does not have a dog. Does Maeve have a cat? Oh wait, Maeve has a cat, right?
Kind of.
She's got that friend who turns into a cat.
And now he's got a gamma mutant. That's created quickly.
I sure did. Oh man. But so you were saying before the cat arrived, I believe you were mid-sentence.
Yes. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I want to have that thing done. I want to have that first issue done within like the first half of 2019.
Oh,
that's what I'm aiming for. So that's kind of why I'm putting like, what I'm kind of doing is putting up the pages that Victor inks onto my Twitter and the official Changeling DeviantArt, and like that. And when Ginger colors them, and she's also going to be doing the lettering.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, she's she's going to basically. I put the inks up on. The inks are available to the public freely, but the colored pages, I'm locking those behind the Patreon.
Okay, yeah, that's pretty smart.
So yeah, if you want the good stuff, you have to get on the Patreon, guys.
So yeah, check it out. Is the link up for the Patreon on your page already?
I have it on my pinned tweet on my timeline.
Okay, yeah. So go ahead and go to Brett's Twitter. We'll plug all the Twitters at the end of the show, so make sure to stick around to hear all that good stuff.
Yep. Yeah, I'm kind of hoping that after it's done, I can get a booth at Jet City Comic Con in Tacoma for 2019 and have it sold there.
Nice. That'd be your first convention then.
Well, it would be my first con as a creator, not as an attendee.
Yeah, that's exciting. Yeah, we would love to, be able to, as we go through, start doing more conventions. Me and Matt, I know, are really interested in trying to get to some of the places that you guys are at and actually get to do conventions with you. So
yeah,
it's great to start getting those too.
Yeah, I mean, if Jet City Comics Show goes over well, I wouldn't actually mind being more or less the Wikid ambassador for the Pacific Northwest. Like I can basically do the contours up in Washington and Oregon.
Yeah, definitely. That's definitely part of our goal is expanding out our conventions because the conventions have been really good. We've been having a lot of fun and we've been doing a lot of sales and getting our name out there. So it's been going really well. But yeah, so it sounds like things are moving forward with your comic then.
That's pretty much. I mean, hey, the progress may be slow, but it's happening at least.
Exactly. It's progress. That's all that matters. That's the most important thing is you're moving forward.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that the pace will pick up as we get more content out there. And I mean, like Matt's told me this. If the amount of fan art I have is anything to go by, I've got a hit on my hands.
Yeah, that's probably a pretty good gauge, I'd say. So in that case, Aaron, why don't you go ahead and
Aaron left the call again.
No. Well, if he comes back, we'll definitely get him on here. Speaking of fan art and a lot of fan art, one guy who has got a ton of fan art is Cody Fernandez, the creator of Jack Irons, and he is really excited this weekend, and I know he's got a lot to talk about and share with us. And so,
I'm probably the one with the second amount. He's got the most. Unless, have you actually sat down and counted it all?
Cody, have you...
Okay, yeah. Sorry, guys. I'm here. Yeah. Oh God. Are we counting all forms of art or just pictures?
Well, let me put it this way: if you did not pay for it, it's fan art.
Yeah, then I'm well over 120 now.
Woo, seriously?
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
A lot of group shots that I don't want to take solo. It's a fan art of many things, so I count those, but it's slightly different. But I'm just happy that it happens. I don't care. I'm stoked there's so much, but it's not a pissing contest. I'm happy for any good piece of art I ever see about me or anybody else.
Exactly. Anyone getting fan art is exciting, I think. Yeah,
exactly. I'm hoping people will really enjoy issue 1's last. What is it? I think we got 4 or 5 pages in there. 6, maybe 6. I feel like 6. Yeah, I think it's 6. Yeah, so I think that'll be fun. I'm hoping a lot of the artists like what we did, and we'll see. Dan, you got a piece in there. So we'll see. This should be fun with this release. I'm really looking forward to. I want to see who's the first person to get a hold of the issue after they ship and spoil the cover, because I have been grinding my teeth not spoiling that cover more than I kind of have to some places, but I haven't done it publicly. So I'm waiting for somebody to do that, and I'm hoping people enjoy it.
Wait, we weren't supposed to share that?
Sorry, go ahead. What was that?
Wait, we weren't supposed to share that? Oops.
Oh, if I trust me, I would have seen if you had, bro. And
I know.
What Cody? Do you have Google alerts set to jack irons?
He's got a lot of alerts set to jack irons, I think. He's got people out there with eyes and ears everywhere.
We don't talk about them.
We don't
Okay?
talk about them, but they're there.
You just feel their eyes on the back of your head constantly until you don't anymore, and it just becomes natural.
As a publisher of Jack Irons, I actually have a trained sniper pointed at me at all times. So it's a very serious thing we take. We don't take this very lightly.
No, not at all. I have to make sure that they're doing it right, and how else but through a high-powered telescope mounted to a high-powered rifle. I mean, come on.
It just makes plain sense.
Consider the current state of comic book industry. I think that's the sanest thing you can do.
I think so. I would say that definitely.
Gotta make sure.
Man.
But yeah, on that front, I'm pretty sure Wikid's pretty stoked to start getting these out to people.
Yeah, we're gonna
Jack's actually gonna be in people's hands here next few weeks, and I can't wait to see the reaction, both good and positive, both good and bad. That's why I did the hashtag jacked up. So either you're super stoked about it, or your issue's jacked up. So maybe just let me know. I'll retweet. Ironverse Comics Alert will retweet, and we'll get the word out there, good or bad. I'm just happy to get the word and the feedback.
Yeah, I need a copy. I need a copy of Jack Irons 1 because I've also got sitting on my printer, still in the packaging it arrived in. Because I want to protect it, because it should be protected, is the Tim Lim variant of Rags #1 that I got off Brian.
Nice.
Well, here's the thing. I never want to crack those books open. I just want to put them in a frame and hang them on my wall.
Like a beautiful painting.
Oh, yeah. I'll probably tear through them. I've read all the digital releases through Patreon that I've gotten, even the really bitchin' trade paperback he did. That's like 200 pages and freaking of awesome. But I'm stoked. I'm hoping Jack pleases everybody, including you, Brett. Whether or not you want to crack it open, I really hope you do. I want these issues falling apart. I want these issues loved, and then I want you to buy another one because it fell apart. But
I want to preserve it. It should be preserved. Something that good should be preserved. It should be hung on.
Where like equality you were saying is kind of. Is that what you're going to mention, Cody?
Oh, I just said, not falling apart like IDW's comics due to lack of quality, but falling apart due to the amount of love they receive.
I thought it was Dynamite that printed cheap.
Both. Boom also. I have a graphic novel for Boom that fell apart after I read it. It was a great book, but the printing, small printers are going out, and I'm pretty sure the big guys are having to cut corners to keep up. And I'm very lucky. The quality this Jack Irons issue. It's heavy. It's thick paper. It's gorgeous paper. It's better than most. Probably, I think the stock is significantly better than modern mass market comics, which is I think helps because the price tag wasn't exactly cheap. And I appreciate people having the faith and desire to get us this far. And I'm hoping this first issue will prove that faith not only justified but continue to receive more and more.
Yeah, I'm looking at the issue right now, and the colors really pop out. They really are so vibrant.
Yeah, it was a good choice of paper. The printer did a great job. I really think people will be happy. One disappointment, I don't announce the things I really want to happen so that they're surprised most of the time. Like the cover I kind of talked about, but I kept it quiet and I haven't shown it. I wanted to have at least one of the pinups come out with this issue. Sadly, the artist has stalled it a little bit, and it's one of the first times I had a little bit of issue with a commissioned artist on this project, but it'll get done, and it'll be there with issue 2. Issue 2 is just going to be fat. It's going to have it's going to have more pages, and it's going to have pinups, folks. But I wanted to at least do that, but it didn't work out. So I'm hoping people will understand this is literally just a taste of what you were promised, and it's not even half. It's about a third of what you're promised. So I'm hoping this third will be satisfying.
And we have the books. So as you may or may not have seen on Twitter, we have the books in our hands now. We got a whole box of them, and we're ready to start shipping out to the backers. So after the podcast, I'll be start shipping out today and throughout the week, and start getting those out to you guys.
Woohoo!
Yeah, it's on its way. Next few weeks will tell how much people like it. Problem with besides us having to double up on shipping costs and not shipping them together and making people wait, which I do appreciate you guys kind of extremely helping me with. I want people to have something because it's been forever, and I don't want to be doing what a lot of these pros are ending up doing with their crowd funds and
it's not just the pros. I've been doing Indiegogo comics for a while now, more even before it really blew up with the indie scene, and I've been waiting over a year for some of my Indiegogo comics. And I think
Jack's backers are almost at the 6-month mark, and though I never promised a delivery date. It's one of my little ways to weasel out of it. But we, because of how the campaign was run, I'm never going to do it again because of all this mailing stuff. But it's been a trip, but it gives me a lot more leeway compared to folks who actually tried to set a date, which is good because my team is very fluid. The letterer and colorist worked real quick, but my artist, he can work real quick, but there's a lot of adjustments, and he's also working on other things that tend to pay a little bit more. So I'm giving him the leeway so that we can get the quality product that people want. And like Ebi was talking, we're kind of taking that European model.
Well, that's not a bad idea, to be honest. We take your time.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm just it's not a 90-page epic, which is kind of sad, but it is taking its time. But I think we'll speed up once this machine's actually in gear and turning. It'll be a lot faster. But at the moment, there's a lot of flex, and I've just been blessed with the backers being willing to be so flexible. I haven't had any complaints from anybody. I even have a few gifts ready and loaded for anybody complaining, but nobody has. So they're just kind of sitting there gathering dust, which I am so happy about.
Well, I think that's the good part of having a good online presence is that people are understanding when something bad happens. Like when EBS has a delay with Cyberfrog because he's doing the European thing. He's taking his time with the art. So since he's good to the fans and he interacts with them daily, they're willing to forgive the little things like that. It's no big deal. They know it's coming, and they trust you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, exactly. And for somebody like me who really didn't have any credibility except for what I've been trying to grow myself, it's very humbling, I guess would be the term. It's the respect in the community that's kind of grown around this project and the with not even delivering anything yet, that's the thing. And so I'm hoping this is the reward for everybody involved in this thing, from the backers to the creators to Wikid, for everybody. I'm hoping this will be a heck of a thing. It should be a celebration for everybody involved and who enjoys it. And hopefully issue 2 will follow pretty quick afterwards. We'll definitely be seeing, and I'll be keeping everybody updated. In between that, with Wikid's issue number 1, Jack Irons release, we're also on my Patreon releasing a companion manga called Cactus Coyote, which I believe is 9 pages up on Patreon at the moment. $1 will get you access to all of them, $1 a month, and as it continues, it'll continue to get you access to the new pages. I got my day today and probably all night is to letter the next 3 for tomorrow night's release. And to get the rest of the shipping addresses organized in a document. I got a lot of work today.
Yeah, I know that is, man. I do the lettering for the Project R, the one that Matt and I do.
Yeah.
The manga we do, and man, yeah, lettering is a lot of work. It's a lot more than you might think.
Well, and to get it right, that's a problem. And so I've been working with my partner on that to kind of get a groove between us. The first 9 pages, there's a few different ways it was done. Eventually, I think we've decided that he's going to do the bubbles, and then I'm going to fill them in, so it'll have that translated manga feeling to it, which works.
Nice. That's cool.
We even do we do the kanji and such for our emotions and our wham, blacks, clinks, all that. So that's kind of nice. But Cactus Coyote, same universe. It's a little bit in the future. Jack Irons, the series, is going to work into space. Cactus is already into space and already kind of dealing with the repercussions of what will happen in Jack Irons. And I'm hoping it'll give people more. I want to build a comic brand under this. I have a lot of properties actually under work. I think I have 4 under production at the moment, with 2 of them literally coming out, and a third will be teased really well in issue 2. There's a pinup and he's in it. So if people like him, I think they will. It's going to be his is going to be a mini, kind of an Ashcan mini series. So it's a lot of shorts, but it's called Tracker Top Predator. And he's a native, about as old as Jack, different kind of immortality. He doesn't have the memories, but he hunts kaiju and uses the parts. And it's basically just going to be a lot of visual shorts of him killing giant radioactive monsters or other things and collecting the items.
This sounds like what happens when you cross Fallout with Monster Hunter.
Yeah. Basically what we're doing. That's really Monster Hunter was a huge, not personally. This is me and my buddy on Cactus Coyote. We're really working this universe, and this character I've had for a long time, and I didn't know what to do with him to make him interesting, and so he threw a lot of what's making this guy interesting. And I've got an artist on talks for it already, who's already in the Wikid team, or not the Wikid team, the Ironverse Comics team. So kind of in the Wikid team. And I hope that'll work out. I hope that'll be in issue 3. I'm really hoping we can fit in a 6 to 8 page short in the back of issue number 3 that is Tracker Top Predator, and as that continues we can collect it into a collected issue and eventually hopefully his own series. But all depends if people like the character. I adore it. Everything I make in this universe is something I want to see. There's nothing just thrown in because I think it'll be popular. This is all things in my head that I've wanted for over a decade, and so I'm really hoping that passion can be shared with others, and that folks will not only recognize it but hopefully grow it. But lots of plans down the line, but you never know how things are going to go. Just stoked for this first step and hoping people enjoy this first issue.
Hey Cody, just for a second, Aaron in the chat asked if the next issues are going to be crowdfunded as well.
Money's got to come from somewhere, and sadly my attempts at the sex trade just cannot fund it. So it's more of a hobby at this time.
You're not cute enough.
Yeah, I'm not. I can't compete. I even went down. If you can't compete attractively, well, then you got to get down and dirty. And people, there's just not enough perverts out there.
Even though I generously tipped her cam show.
Dan, I'm pretty sure if Cody tried that rat, he'd end up getting audited by the IRS.
As well he should be, damn thought.
You should try.
No, I pay my taxes like every other thought says they do. Okay,
Food for thought.
But no, seriously, I most likely I don't see the funds necessary to pay my artists a wage, and especially I want a living wage. I want these to be our artists who are working on this, and this is what people are getting from them. You have to pay an artist to have that happen. You can't just and so if I can get the Cactus Coyote is a huge push on my Patreon to give people some extra value beyond Jack. I'll be talking with Wikid about including Jack issues and things like that down the line. But until we deliver that stuff, it's hard for me to give really solid Patreon content. So we went with this. And I would think $1 a month isn't much for folks, even on a budget, if they can do it. It really would make all the difference for our creation. If I could pull the plug on having to run a campaign, because once that happens again, all my energy has to go to the campaign. So creation kind of goes to a slowdown and a crawl and a halt while the campaign's running. And so then things take longer. And if we can get it on a monthly basis, then I can guarantee a price. We can get pages done a certain amount a month. You can get structure to something that's fundamentally not structured. Crowdfunding can do that too, but it becomes much looser, and once again, it sucks up all the energy. So I prefer not to, but unless I get some grant or issue 1 and 2 somehow explode us, then I don't see another way.
Well, you can always play the Powerball.
Well,
Yeah,
I mean, I guess technically that's another way, and it's worth it. But being struck by lightning is also much more likely, and I would think more of a memorable experience that won't ruin your life.
So the Patreon going forward is going to be key then for the sustainability of the comic, you would say?
Oh man, I have no idea. That would be my hope.
Too much of
It's the
okay.
plan, but I can't foresee what's going to happen.
Right.
The stability would be Wikid and I. We get enough money that somehow we can just fund it.
But look at it this way, Cody. You've at least got a plan.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, yeah. Patreon's one way, and Indiegogo's the. Honestly, it's probably the plan A, and Patreon's the plan B. But the plan B is much more desirable. But also our next campaign will probably be able to include back issues, more merchandise. The third campaign is going to be quite a bit more professional and blinged out in the videos and the presentation. Wow. The tiers are actually going to have, actually going to collect shipping information because we'll have physical from the beginning. But it's also going to have to be a higher price because I want to retain my artists for that, to have it pumped out quicker and not have them have to work on other things to make ends meet.
Is it fair to say that each campaign then will be almost the next level up in terms of kind of scope and size?
I would assume so. Again, it's got to stay fluid. You can't be rigid and stuck in a way in this industry, or you're gonna break. So I have no idea. But once again, the goal, I think we can do bundles of the thing until we reach the finished arc, and then we do a trade paperback as an option. But I think if you can include the extra value and somebody sees the book and hasn't been able to get 1 or 2 because, well, we're not in Diamond yet and it's a little hard to I'm not sure how you're going to do printing waves, for instance, for individual orders through the website. So there's got to be a way to offer people a way to catch up to something they see brand new all of a sudden that's a little bit along the way. And so that would be my hope. I would think people would want the extras, maybe even variant covers on it because it's a new printing. I don't know. There's an infinite amount of options, and it all really depends on the fans around us and what they want. And we'll see what we can do to provide that.
Yeah, that sounds awesome.
Well, hopefully we can at least build Wikid up to the point where we can accomplish all that.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we're already on the right track, and building ourselves up and stuff. So
I mean, just think about it. I mean, like once upon a time, Marvel, DC, even Antarctic Press started where we were at.
Right? Or even think
Well,
about
yeah, I was gonna say with a lot less tools at their disposal as well. You had to be physically in a room working with these people.
I'm just saying
I
they
have
were.
a team around the world.
Yeah, yeah. I know. I'm just saying that at one point they were in our shoes.
Oh, absolutely. Stan Lee started as the freaking coffee boy. I know what you mean.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, like it just like all you gotta do is work hard, put out a good product, and then hey, maybe we'll. I mean, just to bring it back to Antarctic Press. I mean, crap, who's the guy that does Gold Digger? I can't remember his name.
I don't know either. I'm not. I follow a little
Fred
bit
Perry?
of Antarctic.
Fred Perry,
Fred.
thanks, Matt.
There
Yeah.
you go.
Okay, so yeah, Fred Perry's got this quote about when he sold his first issue of Gold Digger, and I think he only sold like 600 copies. And he said, well, those are 600 fans I'll never disappoint.
those
Nice.
600 people.
Really
Yeah,
puts things in perspective.
It's the 1,000
kinda-
true fans thing.
That's even more interesting. Jack sold, including digital, sold 800 issues. But if we don't include digital, it's more like 400, and that includes issue 1 and 2. So it's kind of a juggle, but that's kind of cool to know that somewhat it's a decent indie number. I guess is what I'm saying. So that's
Right,
cool.
yeah.
Gold Digger
No,
was happy.
you have
happy
to
with
take
it.
into account that you're not using the usual marketing tools, the tools that guys like Marvel and DC have at their
Right.
disposal. You don't have like tens of thousands of followers. I mean, considering that, I think you're doing pretty well.
And not
Yeah,
mention all the
honestly, I
money
went
we'll
from-
be able to spend
Yeah, I
too.
went from 0 followers to almost 2,500 now in the span of what is it? Oh, a little under 6 months. So I think that shows a little bit of steam. At least people giving hype for once again for the only thing I had to show was the digital black and white for free, and I'm sure that wasn't nothing, because that way people could know whether or not it was even worth their time, instead of, oh, here's this idea, here's some pictures. But still, honestly, a lot of people didn't want to read the digital. They just wanted to get the physicals in their hand and read them then. And those are the reviewers and kind of people I'm really interested in, because they wanted to wait till the final product, which means like they have a more discerning eye. So I'm very curious how I'm going to get torn apart, because no one's torn Jack apart yet. Somebody has to. It's a rookie effort, at least on the writing side. No question.
I'm not sure I would even say that though, because you've been working on this, planning this. This whole thing has been in production for, as you say, 10 years now. If you really think about it.
Well, yeah, it has, but the script, okay. So the Maxi is awesome. He takes the crap I wrote, and he makes a good page out of it by adding panels. And then I do the freaking Stan Lee thing, and I just like, oh, now I write it.
Right.
So,
yeah.
Without his direction, the book would have been even more. Here's this. This way, there's a flow, and even Matthias's colors help convey that flow. So the art's really picking up the scraps I'm leaving from doing a terrible chisel job.
And I think that relationship is underrated, actually. People think that writing and drawing comics, like writing or directing a movie, are like separate process, like they are separate compartments. And I don't think it's like that at all.
Not at all.
I think a good team, feeds off each other creativity. I think the best movies I've ever watched, and my favorite movies, are all like that. The script was supposed to be something else, and then the director came along and said, we're gonna do this and this and that, and the screenwriter then rewrote it, and they ended up making a masterpiece. I think the biggest example I can think of is Alien by Ridley Scott.
I was going to say I can attest. Sorry, you go.
Sorry,
you keep.
sorry.
No.
No, I was just saying that it was supposed to be this run-of-the-mill B movie about some guys find an alien, and this guy came along and it turned into this really, not pretentious, but slightly more deeper and more
artistic,
character-driven piece. Yeah, no, it's a great movie, and I think it's because of that, because of the mutual input between writers and artists and all that.
Yeah, I was going to say I can
Brad.
certainly. I'm sorry, Cody. Yeah, I was gonna say I can certainly attest to that because, I've said multiple times that Changeling would not be what it is without Victor and Ginger. Sure, and Victor even kind of went off script with one of the pages I gave him and added stuff I didn't include. And I kind of thought that was actually to its benefit. And Ginger's very meticulous with her colors. She is very good at finding the right colors to just convey that atmosphere. So when you have that kind of synergy, you can just make magic happen.
Oh, absolutely. Without Maxie, I wouldn't have been here. He walked me through comics and how to actually, lay it out. I'm hoping to include those concepts in issue number 1's digital stuff, so you can kind of see how he taught me. This part of the script, it needs this, because otherwise the drawings just do not work. And a little bit of a language barrier, but I was actually able to meet him in person in my hometown before he went back. There's a lot of grace behind my project, and I'm grateful for every goddamn ounce of it. And in particular, the team, even the letterer I got that found me, the first letterer, the one that's on the digital issue that everybody's been looking at when I put it out. He when he left the project because of disagreements with where I was and what that could do for him, he was great. He let me still use that, and I've seen him on a lot of other books around, and I'm super stoked. There's been no animosity, and Matthias found me, Maxie found me, and then did the book for an unbelievably cheap rate. Issue number 1 honestly was a gift to me from Maxie as far as what he got for producing the art he did. And so that's another reason I want our next funding to be paying him a professional comic book page rate. He deserves every goddamn dollar of it. Honestly, all our work on the book, I speak it into creation, but he's creating it. There's a big difference, and all of our stuff just layers on top of his foundation, and without it, Jack would be crap. No question.
Yeah.
I find it interesting. It's still a fun think piece for me, but it wouldn't be a good comic. It's all on him for the art, the character designs. I designed Jack sorta, and then he made him awesome. There's just so much I can't give him enough credit. And then Matthias doing those amazing colors in this issue, and Zero Fox doing our logo, which is freaking amazing and looks great on this cover. Vince Rush for stepping in when that letterer left us, and not only stepping in but doing a great job. And issue number 1 also, fun fact, this Indiegogo printing is rewritten. There is additional dialogue and additional lines in this issue that are not in the digital one, and that help it read much better. I was able to fix that because Vince was willing to work with me. And again,
Hey, by the way, Aaron's saying we should talk about barrels.
Damn right you should talk about barrels.
Yes, we
oh
should.
no, now the spotlight's on me. What are you doing?
Well, it is your turn.
Well, yes, I suppose I should talk a little bit of barrels. So, barrels issue 1 just came out a little while ago, about a few weeks ago. It's written by myself, Nub Guy, Michael, one of the co-founders, and with art by Jeff R. Lasley. Some of you may know his art from some different projects. He's doing what's the name?
Lone Wolf?
Yes, Lone Wolf. Thank you. I was trying to grab that one. Lone Wolf. He's working on Lone Wolf with Doug. and that's a really cool project. So if you guys, is the Indiegogo still going right now?
It might be in demand. I know they were successful, which I was super stoked because I was an
That's
early
awesome.
backer. I'm a big
That's so
fan
cool.
of Jeff's work, and I'm a big fan of what Doug's done with the story. I'm stoked to see a supernatural. It's very much. I was glad there's another immortal native, and now we got an immortal cowboy in the indie sphere.
Right,
And
you got a little bit of competition with your mortals
yeah,
here.
exactly. And you know there's got to be a crossover
Right.
eventually. And
I feel like that's got to be in the works somewhere. Crossover
Exactly.
event, you know.
Yeah, no, I absolutely love Jeff's work, and
Yeah, he's
Barrels in
incredible.
particular, he can lend it to so many styles. For instance, like we're just talking about Lone Wolf. It's a supernatural thriller, and what Barrels is a historical mob piece. Yeah,
Exactly. Yeah, there's no supernatural elements. It's completely 100% based in our world and based on history and not real events. I do take liberty to create events, but I use real people and I use real, different. I kind of take real events and then spin it off in my own direction a little bit.
and his art style just lends to both so very
Oh my
well.
God, it's so cool.
Was my point. I don't know how he can do both so well. A lot of artists have their niche, and somehow Jeff has his niche, and it fits with a bunch of different stuff, and I love it.
It's pretty incredible. It's this older. It's definitely to me it feels like a bit of an older, more traditional style. It's all hand drawn. He doesn't do any digital work as far as I know. I mean, he does a little bit of digital coloring, maybe. I believe now he's been experimenting with, but as far as the art goes and the shading and the inking and everything, and he also does it by hand. And not only that, he does a lot of really interesting kind of. He comes from a traditional art point of view, like he does paintings and such, and so he adds a lot of washes into his comics and stuff, and so they actually to me they look like almost like paintings. He's kind of a mix of comics and painting. And so in issue 2, he's added in a whole new dimension of to the comic. So in issue 1, you see the comic and you have all this art, but there's no washes in the background. And what the washes do is they kind of add in a lot of atmosphere and make it look really creepy. Like I don't know if you go to my Twitter, you can see a picture of this like torturer guy. He's like the psychotic guy who works for the mob, and it looks so creepy. It just adds to the atmosphere, and his art, maybe coming from that horror aesthetic, he really looks so good. And so issue 1, I love issue 1, but issue 2, the art style changes in a way that I think people are really going to find interesting. But issue 2, we have about 6 or 7 pages done right now, out of 22, and so that should be coming out probably maybe January, I would think, maybe around there. But issue 1's out now, so if you want, you can check out the first issue. It's a bit of a revenge story, kind of. Even though it's 1920s, mob story, I kind of like to think of it like a Kill Bill or something like maybe like what is something like John Wick. I've been thinking about it lately of this revenge story, and just take those aesthetics, but mix it with The Godfather and classic mafia stories, and you have an idea of what I'm trying to go for.
I'd be all over that.
So yeah, folks, if you're looking for variety, Wikid is your publisher.
Yeah, I like that.
So many different things.
Yeah, like how Wikid has, I don't know, historical thrillers, science fiction, fairy tales. I dig that. It's not just one thing publishing house. It has variety, diversity even.
Right. You might say this word. And that's actually a really big goal that we have is we really want something for everyone. I truly believe that by having a lot of different variety, that you can bring in readers from all walks of life and who are interested in a lot of different stuff. So I think it's really valuable to have that. Like, for example, I mean, with Brett, we have our first all ages, coming of age story.
I would say Changeling isn't really all ages, more young adult, but you're still.
I need to stop telling those kids to read it. Oops.
Young adult is an insult at this point. Let's just say,
I'm trying to show that this genre is still salvageable. It's not lost.
I mean, if you look at manga, shonen titles are so popular. I mean, they're on fire. There's no shortage of that. So it works. It does work.
Yeah. Oh yeah,
Their
definitely.
definition of kid friendly is a little bit different, though.
I
Yes.
love that.
Technically, One
Yeah.
Piece is marketed to kids.
I love that, dude.
Yeah.
I think it's so
I know.
awesome.
I'm 100%
I
with
showed
you.
One Piece to my 7-year-old, and she put it down in the first 2 pages because Luffy stabs himself with a knife in the
Yep.
face, and
Yep.
she says, "I don't like this, Daddy."
Oh my lord! What were you thinking?
That's hilarious.
Well, you got to start early with One Piece, or you're gonna die old trying to finish it.
Oh, that's awesome.
The only,
Should just-
the only series that has more books is Warhammer 40k.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Or that,
you
or,
will never read all the books in your
Oh,
lifetime.
the Black Library? Yeah, no way.
Yeah.
You can't finish the Black Library.
Oh, it'd be a daunting test just to finish the Horus Heresy.
True. So true.
50 now.
No, I finished the Eisenhower trilogy, and that's it.
Oh,
I
so
can't-
good. That was my introduction to the Black Library. Oh man, I love Eisenhorn. One of the first books I read that was written from the person's perspective. I really enjoyed that.
Yeah, it's unusual in the Warhammer universe to do that thing. They're mostly focused on battles and stuff, and I like the fact that this was like I'm not gonna say smaller piece, but it was like more focused on a character. Who
Yeah, it was
probably
personal. It was
connects,
his
and all
fall
that.
from grace. I
Yeah.
love it.
I was gonna say and also a really good short story, which is it's not in the Black. It's from Tales of Heresy. It's the Last Church. Yeah, it's
when he has the debate with the last priest. The guy
when the emperor.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah, it's like that is a really good. It's I mean there's no real. It's just a dialogue between the emperor and that priest, and it covers so many things about the good and evils of organized religion and faith and just and it actually gives both, even though it kind of is a little biased towards the emperor because it has to be.
Yeah.
But it is actually fairly even-handed.
Yeah, well, the Emperor was sad that he had to destroy this part of humanity to get us somewhere. He didn't want that to happen. He came from 10,000 shamans, holy men wanting to kill themselves at the same time to make this to fight. He knows the value of religion, but sadly, at that point, it had come to a head of just too much oppression and not enough spirituality in it. The moving it to science.
The funny thing is the emperor kind of had it in his head that he thought by getting rid of religion that would starve the chaos gods, but
yep.
The problem is they feed off emotions, and as long as people are killing, Belcorn's still gonna have power.
Yep.
I'm curious though, how much did Warhammer 40K take inspiration from Dune? There are a lot of very similar elements.
It's almost plagiarized.
Oh,
yeah.
Really?
I mean, they did Star Wars,
Immortal God
Star
Emperor.
Trek.
Yeah.
They plagiarized all the sci-fi and then the fantasy too. Lord of the Rings, everything.
You mean the Frank Herbert novel, right? Not Doom, the video game, Dune, the Arrakis and all that. Yeah. Okay.
Sandworms.
Yeah, no, this guy is ripped off all modern science fiction from Dune to
Starship Troopers.
Yeah,
Blade Runner.
Star Wars.
Aliens.
Yeah.
I mean, come on! How has Games Workshop not gotten sued by Fox because the fucking Tyranids look like xenomorphs?
I think it's something to do with the fair use. If you tweak things here and there, it counts as a homage and not a direct ripoff.
Yeah, and also they weren't in direct competition. It's not like Aliens, the franchise, was trying to put out miniatures. Big difference. If they were, then yeah, I bet there would have been a little bit of legal problems.
Yeah,
but
I think that was the whole problem because everyone wanted a Warhammer 40K movie, and that's what we all thought. Dude, there's no way they're gonna make a full.
Well, they did actually, Ebi.
Yeah, but they put this little half shorts that they put on directly on DVD. So you know they
No,
didn't.
Like there's there's actually a full feature length movie. It
came out a few years ago and nobody noticed. I think.
It's not very good. It's written by Abnett, and you
it's
got a
dude. When I told dude, there's one of my coworkers. He's a huge Warhammer fan. Plays Dark Angels. When I told him Dan Abnett wrote that movie, these were his exact words. It kills me in the soul to hear that.
I couldn't get through a lot of Dan Abnett, so I'm not surprised. He's long-winded, and man, I got through the first 2 Ultramarines books, and I've been on the last 30 pages of the 3rd one for like 5 years because it's just so painful. It's so dull, and so I don't care for his writing in that one series at least, but there's it's a trip.
How about the Guardians of the Galaxy series he did with Andy Lanning?
Oh, he did the Guardians, huh?
That was actually pretty good. I have a trade paperback of I think it's the first run or something like that. That's actually pretty freaking entertaining. I think he's a better comic writer than novelist.
Yeah, he fills a lot of space because he doesn't know what to say in the story, and I think that's my issue with his writing. So a comic takes that away real quick, and I'm sure it can shine a little bit better.
But even then, you know, if you can't just fill up the pages, you got to have some content there, right?
Yeah, that's what I was saying. It's just, in his Ultramarines, it's content. You know, Tom Clancy puts out content. It's just not entertaining. And so, therefore, the point of the book is a lot.
You know, the author James Patterson. I don't know if you remember. He puts out like a million books a year. That's the kind of idea, right? He puts out
exactly. Just like Tom Clancy, he just puts his name on a bunch of stuff, and a ton of other people write it. But even the shit he writes is for a certain group of people. That's fine.
Right.
I'm sure there's plenty of fans. It just wasn't for me. I don't like unnecessary detail. If you guys read my comic, it'll breeze right by because I just say something. I try to be more poetic than descriptive.
Quality versus quantity.
Well, yeah, pretty much. But also there's a lot to be said by having both. And I skew a little bit towards quality with less quantity, at least in my writing. I try to make up for that with the art. So
comics are a visual medium. I mean, like the story should be able to be told through the images.
Exactly.
Plus, speaking of image, you know, Image in the 90s proved that you can actually keep a company up just by sheer art, just with zero story, you know.
Yep, exactly. Very true.
But the guys who founded Image, let's be honest, those guys were hot shit in that back in the day.
They were the elite of the American comic book industry back in the day.
No, they were more like I see them more like they were like the superstars of the industry at that time. And it's just like them all walking out on Marvel and forming their own company. Like, that was a huge deal.
Oh, yeah, but, it ended up with a moderately successful company, and I'm very proud of that for them. But, I don't know.
Although there are stories about how they had some issues just because, like, it was a case of like too many chefs in the kitchen and egos getting in the way, and
I think it's the usual problem of just because you work in this company doesn't mean you know how to run a company, and I think that was the biggest issue with Image, that they thought it was just a matter of, you know, putting pretty pictures into pages, and it wasn't like that at all. No, people began missing their deadlines. I'm sorry, what?
I said for a large part, well, not a large part of probably a few years within Image's opening, they probably had to come across those problems.
Yeah. I think Todd McFarlane was like he was probably the only one who caught up, who probably got the hint that, you know what, if I'm going to be good at this, I better handle the business side.
Well, but what my partner tells me a lot of time are foreign clothes because a lot of them are about just doing something because it's not going to get done otherwise. No matter if you have the experience or not, just say yes now and figure it out later. And I think that had a lot to do with Image's success. He said yes to like everything that came his way, and a lot of it worked out. Some of it did not, but more worked out that didn't, and so
And then The
that's
Walking Dead
a
happened.
motivational thing for me. Is just say yes, just try it because what else you're gonna do? An option presented itself, and as long as it's not something that's you got to overcommit and literally putting your life on the line, then why not? You can take a punch once in a while if you have to.
Hey, it's like I say, life is a contest, so play to win big.
Or that's one way to look at it for sure.
Yeah, but definitely always try to play fair as well, because when you get caught not playing fair, there's hell to pay afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
Well, yeah.
But, speaking of which, well, sorry, did you have one last point to make on that, or?
Not really.
Okay, I was going to say, we are now joined by the other Wikid co-founder, Matt Bryant, and so welcome, Matt. How are you doing?
Pretty good. Sorry I wasn't able to make it here in the, I think, first 2 hours, really.
That's okay.
I had a job interview and a few other things came up. But
well, good luck.
I make it to the end.
But hey, I wanted to say, well, we were unable to have Aaron on the stream for too long. He was on for a little bit earlier. But would you mind maybe talking a little bit about your and Aaron's project, just a little bit to tell us about?
Yeah, Dissolution. It's a post-apocalyptic scenario where pretty much things are not as they seem, because everybody thinks that post-apocalyptic, it's a zombie apocalypse or nuclear devastation, or aliens came and destroyed the planet by using their technological advancements. Me and Aaron decided to kind of take a lot of those tropes and kind of subvert them by changing it to where instead of they're highly advanced in technology, what it's pretty much going to be is that it's more like they're spiritually advanced. So they have, I think Matt actually even talks about this in his own story, McKinney Chronicles, where it's technology that's so high and advanced that it's considered magic to the layman's eyes, so to speak. But I think we're also going with more of a true spiritual, so there is more of a magical sense to it as well. And what it is that the planet that these aliens are on, they have a civil war, and it causes the both factions to send off what we would consider an orb to Earth as a means of protecting themselves or carrying on the lineage, in a sense. So that this way, when they're ready, they can go to a new home. And what ends up happening is that the government on one side finds one orb while the main characters find the other orb. While they're experimenting on what is called the black orb or dark orb, there is a malfunction that happens within the orb, causing it to explode, that sets off these whole chain of events of scenarios. And the way that the world is being destroyed is that the dark orb itself has unleashed energy, so it would to help mitigate a lot of the, you could say, terraforming, so that this way the aliens can come to the planet and start living. But during that time, there seems to have gone awry with certain plans of theirs, which they might have to consider, and that's what leads into more of the actual story Dissolution.
So it's definitely a sci-fi story, but it takes place in our, would you say, our near future then?
In an alternate universe or timeline, yes.
So in a world like ours, but maybe not exactly like ours.
Yes, I would say because it takes place pretty much I could say 1 year from now. 2020 is when it all really kind of takes hold, and then 10 years later, 2030 is when the actual event of the story is.
And that's the full title, right? Dissolution 2030.
Yes.
Okay. Interesting. Okay, cool. Well, that's really exciting. I know that you guys have been working on that for a while, and that
Yeah. The concept's been a little hard to get because it seems like something that not really too many other people have tried doing before. So me and Aaron have been kind of working through a few different concepts for not only just the alien species, which Ebi has actually worked on concept art for as well.
Oh, nice.
Oh yeah.
They're really awesome, dude. They're really awesome. You gave me some really good ideas to incorporate for the rest of them as well. But I mean, like, even through our meetings with you, Michael, it seems like I wouldn't say like it's a hard concept to get, but it seems like it's going to be a little hard to really try and translate it onto paper and make it flow well.
Yeah, it's a very intricate sci-fi story, and some of the best art, even especially novels. But translating that kind of a heavy sci-fi into comics can sometimes be hard. So it's making sure that it's done in the right way, I think, is really what it's coming down to.
Yeah, and I don't know if you guys ever knew, but there is a Godzilla comic, and I've read a few of them, and I've tried continuing on, but I just personally can't. I don't know if it's the person's writing. I really love the art. It's very meticulous on how
we're
they
talking
get
about
Godzilla
the Art
looking.
Adams Godzilla.
Huh?
Is it the Art Adams Godzilla? Because that's really good.
I don't know who the writer was for. It could have just been the art that I was reading or something, but there was something about it I didn't necessarily like. And I really think it was probably the situation he was in. Because I read another one, I think it was Godzilla Goes to Hell, and I loved that one. That one was so awesome to read. It was like, oh, okay, so this is what would happen. But like reading that Godzilla Goes to Hell, it felt like reading the movie. Whereas the other one that kind of made me kind of stray away, I don't even really remember it because I didn't like it so much. That's kind of on how I work with things. If I didn't really like it or it's unimportant to me, I'll forget it. But there was just something about it. I just went, this isn't like the movie to me. I can't really read that. So I can see where Michael's coming from, that certain things need to be translated a certain way to be, I wouldn't say for its flow to be well, but for it to actually feel concise.
And to convey it to the reader, I think, in a really good way as well. Yeah. But yeah, so I mean, that's exciting. We'll be getting more news, I know, in the upcoming months as the work continues. And so definitely look forward for that. And potential, Matt, did you have any other? I remember we were talking about something, but are you ready to share anything else about anything else right now, or is that what you want to focus on right now?
I guess I could say I'm open for commissions. If anybody wants to do a commission with me, I'm negotiable with prices. I did recently change my prices as well because of other people I've been talking to. So I'll have an updated price list for everyone. But yeah, go ahead and DM me, send me an email or whatever for a commission. More than willing to do one. Not only that, I do have a little bit more work from Project R that I will be uploading soon. I've just been a little caught up trying to do that last commission that I did. The werewolf one, because it was for someone's D&D that they really wanted done. And man, I honestly did not know how hard studded leather would be. I thought it was just a few simple lines, a few dots, but no, man. It's a lot more intricate than what I originally thought.
That's interesting. Well, that's awesome, man. I'm really excited to hear all about all that and stuff. And so I'm glad. Welcome to have you on the stream. We missed out on a lot of fun stuff earlier. I was sad to see.
I was able to hear a lot of the last 40 minutes before I hopped on.
Oh, that's awesome, dude. Yeah. Well, hey, going forward, I was wondering, Ibai, you want to talk a little bit about Decimators issues 2 through? Sorry, not issues 2, rather, but issues 3 to 4, seeing as it's coming out soon.
Yeah, I like to call it Volume 2 because I'm never sure about the correct numeration here. But yeah, let's call it season 1, volume 2, something like that. Yeah, it's I don't know if everyone here read the first issue, but the first one was an introduction to the setting and the lore and all that. And the second one, where we're trying to dig a little deeper into the characters, and how both on how the characters are, how they interact with each other, and also about how the infected work. These guys who are technically not zombies, they're infected, like in 28 Days Later, something like that. And yeah, I try to add some variety to the infected, to the zombie lore. It's more like Resident Evil, in which we have different strains of creatures. Some are bigger than others. We have our usual tank variant with the big guy who can take a lot of punishment. We have a flyer one. We have a gargoyle type of creature who's also a raging feminist. I think there will be people in the audience who will enjoy the fact that I'm not gonna spoil how it ends, but it's I like to think of Decimators as shitposting made comic.
That's hilarious, and I can attest to that. That is a very good way to describe it. And I think you all are gonna love that character. It's a lot of fun, I have to say.
I can't wait. I got a copy in the mail, I think, so I'll definitely be checking it out.
Oh, perfect.
Oh man,
I think it's one of the few times.
It's so fun, but I just can't wait to get, as Ibai said, volume 2. In a sense, it's just so fun reading it. It is a blast every time.
Man, it's the only time that I've been laughing out loud while writing something.
Yeah, no,
you want to just laugh out loud.
Because there's so many good moments in this one too, in volume 2. I really love. And what's so much fun is you've really kind of given us a lot of extra stuff for not just new readers, but for your longtime readers. There's a lot of good bonus material in here. So we, for example, Ibai and I did an interview together where we kind of dived into his world, his creative process, his inspirations, all that kind of fun stuff. And it turns out some really good results. And not only that, but there's a behind-the-scenes look at the Decimators armor. So if you're interested in learning more about how the Decimators armor works, or the specifications on what it's like, you can check that out. And an exclusive cover that Ibai recently painted, and you can't get it anywhere else. You can't see it anywhere else. So there's a lot of fun stuff that is coming from the print edition.
Yeah, I wanted to give people a good reason to also buy the printed version, because since you can already read the whole thing online.
Exactly.
You gotta make them want to buy the thing.
Mm-hmm. It's a nice little bonus for people, like exactly those people who may have already gone through it and seen that. Well, what's new? Well, there's also this stuff as well. And I have to say, the comic looks beautiful in print. It looks so good. The quality of the art is so crisp, and it really comes across nicely.
Yeah, I think the transition from webcomic to printed page went really well. It was one of my main concerns. Was the formatting maybe would look too fussy or whatever. No, it looks great. It looks great. I've been I hold my printed my printed issues in my hands every day for at least 5 minutes.
That's awesome.
I'm like Robert Rodriguez. They're my babies.
That's so cool, dude. Yeah, I similarly do the thing. I'm actually holding my copy Decimators right now, taking a look at it. But yeah, I love to pull those.
I gotta go back hug mine right now. I'm so emotional.
Oh man! But if you guys are down, if you don't mind, I'll go ahead and read the back of the book for you if you're okay with that, Ibai.
Yeah, yes, please do.
So the description goes as such: Decimators is gonna get political on your asses. Scientists begin to study a drone brain to discover its secrets. Meanwhile, Barbarian is forced to deal with the zealous faction Brothers of Decimation. Can they truly be stopped, or does evil just adapt and strike back under new guises? And so that gives you a little bit of a taste of what's to come in issue 2. Just a little teaser. I don't want to give you too much, just a taste. But trust me, there's a lot of fun stuff coming.
I must say that was beautifully written. You can tell you're a writer. You perfectly captured what the issue is about.
Well, I appreciate that, and I learned from the breast. I try to look at your words and try and use as much of your words and try and make my words sound like yours and kind of use that feeling because
I'm feeling
you're
all tingly
I'm
on
really
the
inspired
inside.
by your what's that?
I'm feeling all tingly on the inside.
Aw, look at this.
I will say, Michael's writing skill is the reason why I decided to team up with him with Project R in the first place. Because when me and him first met to go through all of that, I was just blown away by it. I was like, man, dude.
Well,
I think that's a strong point that has that that Wikid has is that you guys are both comic creators, unlike some of the guys working in the big two, or they're just editors or businessmen or whatever. You guys make comics. You're familiar with the process of creating, the creative process of writing and making art, and I think that shows in the way you create the company. I think that's really important.
Oh,
Yeah,
wow.
yeah, and thank you for that. Thank you. And I mean that's why I mean, to be honest, we teamed up with all of you as well. We loved every single one of your guys' projects. We loved the ideas, the concepts, the way you set it up, and just like you were saying, Ebi, like cherishing it like it's your baby, because in a way it is. You've spent so many years honing and crafting it, and now you're ready to show it to the world and everything. And I mean, that's what me and Michael want to do. We want to help facilitate that and bring your guys' dreams to life in a sense.
Yeah, and we love comics, like you said, and so I appreciate you saying those things, Iba. We're really passionate about it, and I'm glad that it shows. And,
yeah, man, I'm proud to be part of Wikid Publishing. I gotta say that.
Oh, that's awesome, man! I'm so glad, and I'm so proud of all of you guys for what we're building here. It's such an incredible thing that we've got going.
Absolutely agree. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just starting from the ground up, and it is the purest way to do this. I think, honestly.
Yeah, there's really no better way. I mean, from just interacting with you guys, I mean, I could safely call you guys my friends in a sense. I feel like I've known you guys for a few years now, even though I believe most of us have just met within this year.
Yeah, pretty much on. Yeah.
Speaking of building things up, should Dan, Matt, and I talk about what we have planned for Changeling, Mythix, and Adobe Kroger?
Yeah, that'd be awesome. Dude, I would love to hear some more about that.
Well, let's just say Cody's not the only one publishing his own universe under the Wikid umbrella.
Oh, neither are you guys. Me and Michael have the same idea from the very beginning.
There'll be multiple universes to draw from.
I think that's the new generation of creators. We don't just create our comics; we create our own universes now.
Right.
Maybe that's the next evolution of comics is for creators to not only think about just a character or a world, but an entire series and universe you can, in a sense, meld and use.
Yeah. Hey, it worked for Marvel, right?
It did for a while.
For a little while. And Secret Wars was kind of the pinnacle of all that, I think.
Yeah, I mean, Marvel and DC started it. They're the first gen universes. I mean, like more like second gen. Now everybody's starting to get to the third gen, which is all the new indie creators like us, and even EVS and Lone Star. Because aren't there talks? Not Lone Star.
Blacklist universe. Lone Star has the Blacklist universe.
No, not Lone Star. It's the Red Rooster. Because weren't there talks about them doing multiple comics of that one too? And then, I mean, just there's so many.
Well, I know the Futurists is the next plan I know for Mitch, but I don't follow too closely. too absorbed.
And then of course there's all the comics that Regina's going to end up in.
But no, let's go ahead and I mean, Mythix universe. What is the Mythix universe? I mean, I'm sorry. Yeah. How does the shared universe? Is that what you're calling the Mythix universe?
We call it the Mythoverse. Yeah, Mythoverse. Yeah, that's what. But yeah, I guess the best way. Yeah, the short answer for what it is how familiar are you guys with the work of Carl Jung?
Hardly.
Yes.
Okay, then Matt's probably going to pick up on where we're going with this, because a big part of Carl Jung's of Jungian psychology is the collective unconscious.
Oh, okay.
Okay. Are you going to be probably a lot of with Changeling? You're probably going to be incorporating a lot of the concepts of the shadow, correct?
More like the concept of dreams and imagination.
Ah, okay.
Interesting.
But more or less like the different supernatural realms in the mythoverse, they're all somehow connected to different aspects of humanity. Like the Fey realm is, like I said, that's connected to dreams and imagination. Spirits are connected to emotions. Gods are connected to belief. And we even have a demon realm, and they're basically the worst parts of humanity.
Okay, yeah, that's the shadow aspect. Okay, I kind of figured you guys would have. That's really cool, though. I mean, I know me and Michael kind of talked a little bit about including a little bit of that, just more of actual mythology side for Project R, because it is historical fiction, but adding an element of Jung psychology, because a lot of people still don't really fully understand what he was talking about. So, I mean, adding elements like that is a really good thing to do, really.
I happen to know a guy who is studied Jung very intensely, and I'm actually going to try and get him in one of our creator meetings, so we can really flesh this out.
Yeah, that's a really smart idea. You guys should include me on that. I'd be very interested in
it. See me.
Yeah, definitely. Matt, Dan, you have anything you want to add?
Yeah, absolutely. So in the first couple of issues of Adobe Kroger, in fact, the first mission all revolves around Adobe and her team rescuing a group of girls that are being exploited by a hedonistic cult. And we learn later on that one of the girls he rescues is actually one of Maeve's older sisters. And this is taking place in 2012. So Maeve would be 7 years old and hasn't come into her Fey heritage yet. But there is a dastardly, diabolical plot involving the Banshees that Adobe Kroger and her team inadvertently stumble upon. And that'll have consequences later for the Changeling story. And hey, Matt, do you want to talk about how Mythix ties into it?
Yeah. Sometime later this month, I'm going to be starting on a Mythix one-shot that takes place in, I think, probably about 2016, where Alfia is out on a mission to take care of some witches, and during the fight, she's zapped by a spell that allows her to see a vision of the future, where we'll see future versions of herself, Adobe, and Maeve, which Maeve at this point will be about 18.
Wow. So wait, you said who's looking into the future again? It's not Maeve looking into the future?
Alfia.
Oh, okay, right. So how does if you can say, I know if it's under wraps, I totally understand, but how does Maisie play into the picture?
It doesn't.
She doesn't.
Oh no!
It's science fiction, supernatural fiction. They kind of hard to make those two mesh.
I was thinking about it's, and not only that, but it takes place in the future, so it's like, how would they? Okay, that's fair. So just so everyone else is clear, and on the same page as I am now. So McKinney Chronicles is not part of the Mythix universe.
Nope, we've got a Trinity going on.
Oh, okay, interesting. I was under misinformed.
It's all right.
My end. That's interesting. So Mythix it's really a trilogy. There's no Maisie going back in time. Although there's a good storyline. If you guys want to take it, I'll let you take it.
Is time travel possible in McKinney Chronicles, Matt?
No.
Oh darn!
Not without some kind of god tier engineering.
Hey, you never know. Maybe Rags Regina can bring along something.
There's a problem with time travel anyway. It's impossible to write a time travel story without there being plot holes in it.
That's true. I mean, that was a good point.
They are kind of self-defeating once you introduce the concept.
Yeah.
There's too many opportunities for time paradoxes.
Yeah, and it just stops making sense at some point. It's like, what is happening?
I mean, you gotta wonder with that. I mean, just think about with all the different time periods the Doctor has gone to, how has he not fucked everything up?
Although I will say, quantum
depends on your theory of time travel. I'm a branch guy, so you basically just make something new every time you fuck with something. So whatever was there before is still there.
I think
You
the way
didn't
they
change anything.
I think the way they kind of explained it away was in one episode during David Tennant's run where he just said time isn't like a river, it's
a big ball of timey-wimey stuff. Yes,
we believe it.
That's very scientific and very very accurate.
That's the writer saying, "Don't analyze this too closely because we aren't."
I prefer for all the hate I profess to Rian Johnson or Ryan or whatever his name is. I think the best way to explain it is the way Bruce Willis does in Looper is my head hurts. Yeah, but how did you shut up? let's not talk about that. My head hurts.
Yeah, they're basically hanging a lantern and saying, "Look, guys, we don't worry about these things, and neither should you. Just enjoy the story."
Hey, it worked for Back to the Future.
Yes.
Yeah, that movie is problematic at some points.
Also, something I think that is worth bringing out about the Mythoverse. You know how SJWs are always complaining there are not enough female-led comics?
Which is bullshit, by the way, but yeah, I
do. Well, Matt, Dan, and I crafted a whole universe wholesale that is female-led.
Oops.
Right, all the main characters are women. Total accident.
Well, two women and a girl.
Yeah.
But Brett, you don't have a platform that they can use against you. That's why they don't care about that. That's the whole point, is to just cause.
Also, we're so small time. It's not like we haven't gotten to the point where we're talking about yet.
Well, I wouldn't be opposed to people supporting us on a $600,000 Indiegogo campaign.
Although we might get shit for all three women being Caucasian. Well, yeah, I'm gonna say
Maeve is just white.
She is whiter than white.
And technically, Kroger doesn't have any color. It's just a blank page with white. So
it's true.
Yeah.
Well, they will worry about the characters as long as they can, as you said, as long as they can use the platform for their own means.
Yep.
Oh man, I've got a couple jokes and Changeling that are just gonna make them read so bad. Like, everyone remembers the. Here's a couple. Everyone remembers the ending to Legend of Korra.
No, I only watched the first couple seasons. I heard
the ending seemed to heavily imply that Korra and Asami were now lesbians.
Oh.
Even though the show up to that point had not established that in any meaningful way, and in fact, they had both dated the same guy at one point.
Yeah, that's weird.
I think it was supposed to be a close friendship, and they handled it with sexual undertones, and it was just the whole thing at the end. It was a rush job.
Here's where it gets.
More seasons. So
here's where I come in. So you got Maeve and her best friend Jenny, who are watching a show that is more or less a parody of Legend of Korra, and it has that exact same ending, and they both hate it.
Just so you guys know, they confirmed that they're lesbians in the comics.
Yeah.
They extended the series in the comics. Yeah.
Yeah. Now the reason why that is, it's more or less me winking at the readers saying these two are not gay and they never will be. Your headcanon shall remain headcanon.
No shipping for you.
They always do that, don't they? I mean, they can understand two people of the same sex being just friends, like Bucky and Cap.
It's like, it's like not everything needs a gay subtext.
Well, for you maybe because you're not completely obsessed with the whole LGBTQ plus spy thing.
Plus, it's a young adult. Plus, it's a young adult book, and
This is the way I.
Well, that's the time to get them.
As long as there are the like the whole setup for it, you know, like they show the undertones throughout the whole show, throughout the whole series, in a sense.
Right.
Or
You can't just
maybe
throw it in
even
there.
the last 2 or 3 seasons, they could have showed it, and it would have been fine, you know. But like having it for like maybe last few episodes of the last season, it completely throws years of context out the window, and you're just like, what?
I think it's a problem that it creates just you know an instinctive reaction to it. You know, this isn't right. This isn't been established. You're just pulling it out of your ass, and that's what people doesn't like.
They want, you know.
That's what causes those, exactly. The doing
It's
reactive moves like that, in a sense.
Yeah, it's the same when they gender ban or they race ban a character. It's not that we don't like it. It's just that it feels like an asshole. It feels illogical and, you know, completely gratuitous.
Oh, now if you think that one isn't gonna make their heads explode, this next one will. So Jenny also happens to be Korean, and also as a joke, she's also a lot taller than Maeve. In fact, she is much taller than an Asian girl her age should be. And I sort of wrote it in that she's always been taller that she's always been tall for her age. So
how tall are we talking?
Maeve is 4'8". Jenny is a whole foot taller than she is.
Well, okay. Well, maybe
like I said, I wrote it in that she's always been tall for her age. Now, think about it. You're Asian, you're tall. What kind of nickname could you have gotten stuck with as a kid growing up?
Godzilla.
There you go!
You got a number
That'd
one.
be the best fucking nickname, though. Well, maybe not for a girl, but shit, if I had Godzilla growing up, because I'm big and tall, I would have loved to have that nickname.
I would also,
Yeah.
I would also have accepted Gigantor.
Yeah, well, now
It's a good one.
both of which are Japanese properties, and again, she's Korean.
Do they have giant monsters in? Oh yeah, no, they had this really terrible movie called D War, something like that. I don't know if you guys saw that.
Yeah, I saw.
I remember that existing.
I don't even know.
Man, it was freaking terrible.
Movies. Do they? I know a few Korean dramas from my fiance, but I don't know if they do kaiju.
There are a couple Korean monster movies. I think The Host is Korean, isn't it?
Yeah. That's a great movie. No, Koreans are mostly into horrifyingly brutal revenge thrillers. You know, like Old Boy and I Saw the Devil and all that. That's the thing they like.
Yeah, especially in their
I
dramas.
know,
Like you do not see that more than that.
Yeah, one of the I don't remember if it was oh god, what's his name? One of the Oons got kidnapped a pair of famous Japanese directors who were in South Korea to make a kaiju film where the North Koreans kill a giant kaiju, and that's like the national film. I've seen clips and such, but I never watched the thing, and it's great. And they actually did let those people go eventually, but it was like 15 years later.
Oh,
Jesus. Actually, that was my theory behind D-War, behind this South Korean movie about the giant snake destroying the city and all that. My theory was that this little kid was the son of someone. You know they discovered that South Korea was actually under the control of a cabal of witches, right?
Under what?
Yeah. There was like a coven of witches or something like that. There was this really powerful and rich psychic that actually had groomed the prime minister or something like that. Oh man, I can't remember now, but it was a huge scandal in South Korea. So go Google that up. It's I think it was like the 9 witches, something like that. Apparently, South Korea was under the control of a shadow organization of witches.
Jeez, dude, this is insane.
My theory was that I don't know. Maybe the son of one of these witches wanted to make a movie, And the witch in question has just spoiled him. And yeah, sure, here you go. Take like $10,000 million from the public, the public funds, and make a damn monster movie. And yeah, go hire a couple of American actors and all that. Yeah, it's a complete mess.
Ah.
So yeah, that's my theory.
I mean, like, I'm trying to remember, where's my train of thought going before I brought in the really... Oh, I remember. It was talking about how we don't have Cody brought up how we don't have a platform for them to use for them to complain about the fact that we have a universe that is female led.
Yeah. Yeah, basically, there's no reason to support you nor attack you at the moment because it's just not.
Although, I mean, like,
there's no.
Well, they're all cis women, so.
Well, not only that. I mean, like, no, yeah. I mean, like, not only that. I mean, like, also, like, Adobe's a lesbian, Althea's bisexual. Like, Maeve is the only one that's actually straight.
Of course, the one thing I'll make the SJW3 is that Althea prefers men.
There you go. You heard it first.
Well, and then again,
man,
all three
she's a
of you are
discount
also
lesbian.
men writing these women.
Huh?
All three of you are men writing these women, so they're not.
Oh yeah.
They're
Oh,
not accurate. They're not from a feminine
yeah.
experience.
yeah. Well, two white guys and an honorary white guy. Well, Matt. That's what Matt told me. Asians count as honorary white people now.
Yeah, they're not allowed to be people
They have the
of color.
certificate, but not the rights, right? God.
Apparently so.
We're getting
Well,
political.
tag, you're it, Asians.
That's a funny thing about the social justice warriors, right? That they say that they defend minorities, but they're the ones handing out the minority license. If they don't give you the license, no matter how black or
So weird.
gay or whatever you are, you're not a protected class, man.
Yeah, no, it's
Unfortunately.
a tool, not a person. That's what happens when you reduce something to a label.
True. Also, it's something that bring it back to Adobe for a second. This was something Dan told Matt and I about Adobe. Like, dude, when you were pitching Adobe to publishers, like they, like one after another, kept turning you down just because they said nobody talks like this.
Oh yeah, and a lot of her dialogue is lifted from actual conversations I've had with actual women. So apparently, people do talk this way. And initially, actually, Adobe was heterosexual. But a lot of the things that people were saying was, heterosexual women don't talk this way, even despite the aforementioned what I just said. So my wife said, "Why don't you just make her a lesbian then?" I said, "Okay, fine. She's a lesbian now. It doesn't matter. It has no bearing on the story at all."
That's interesting. So you kind of tried to bring it to some people then, huh? You shopped around a little bit?
Yeah. The story, the actual novel, I began writing it back in 2011. And I completed the first draft in around 2013, and I was pitching it to publishers around 2015 or so. And invariably they would say, it's not good that you're trying to write a lesbian because you're a straight white man. I'm not even making that up. These are agents saying this.
That's
And
so
yeah, it was baffling to me. It's like I thought writers, they write about things that they are not, and they write about things.
Sorry, I just want to say, it'd be like telling an actor to say, "Oh, well, you can't be a lesbian because you're not a lesbian."
Oh yeah, because straight actors have played gay characters and vice versa.
Yeah.
Hey, just for perspective, does anyone know about a movie called The Assignment?
Oh yeah, the one directed by Walter Hill, right?
Yeah, it stars Michelle Rodriguez,
and
she's a transsexual hitman.
Whoa.
Oh yeah, I remember that.
And last time I checked, Michelle Rodriguez was not transsexual.
Yeah, it's gotten crazy the last couple of years to the point where there's absolutely no winning. Like the like the former marginalized groups are now the oppressors. So it's really getting difficult.
That's the whole point.
Yeah,
that's the whole point. You're not supposed to win. You're just supposed to obey. It's like a treadmill. You will never reach the finish line. You just have to keep running all the time.
It's not about minorities. It's not about gender. It's about power, and it doesn't matter. Like you're oppressed today, you'll be the oppressor tomorrow, and there's no way to win.
But yeah, they kept turning you down just because you were a straight man writing about a lesbian woman, Dan.
Well, yeah, they said like most of the feedback that I got was, this is not how women behave, and I said, well, this one does. So
Yeah,
what's your point?
Weird thing to say, say that that's not how women behave. Well, there's a lot of different types of women. How do you know that this is, there's so many different types of people?
Precisely. I mean, I don't think I don't think in collectivist terms. I never have in my life. So I always take people one at a time. So who are you to say how this woman behaves and how salty she acts and all that nonsense? So
if anyone's going to tell me kids don't act like Maeve, well, I got news for you. She's got pieces of myself, my brother, who's lived with Asperger's syndrome his entire life, and my best friend I've known since before I could talk, who grew up biracial.
Exactly. And like I said, you got to take people one at a time. You can't just throw them all into an amorphous blob collective and make vast generalizations about them. Maeve acts the way she does because she is who he is, because of her experiences, and Adobe acts the way she is because of her experiences. And who are you to say how someone would act or how someone would behave in a given situation? So that's why I decided to go full indie, like 2015 or so. I just said, to hell with this, I'm just going to self-publish it. And I did that, and I decided before I began promoting it, actually, I would complete an audiobook edition, which was completed earlier this year, and I think it's just absolutely fantastic. And to round it all out, I wanted to also have a comic to go with it, so that's where I am.
That's awesome, dude. Sounds like everything's coming along quite nicely then.
Absolutely. I'm so excited for 2019. I can't wait.
Can you tease us anything about the second volume of the novel series?
Absolutely, yeah. I don't want to spoil the end of the first one, but the first one is sort of a self-contained adventure that doesn't necessarily... There's a sequel hook in it, obviously, but it can stand on its own. And the second book, the first book has a lot of very momentous events that will have drastic consequences on her world in general. And then the second book starts with her not only dealing with those, but also with the trauma that the previous book's events caused her. And she already has some severe emotional issues to begin with, and they're only going to escalate in book 2. So it's going to be much more psychologically driven. We're going to see how all the events of the previous book impact her personal relationships, professionally, romantically, and all that. And on top of that, she's going to have an even worse situation to deal with. So she's going to be in a seriously bad place at the end of book 2. It's the darker second act, kind of like Empire, and all that stuff. So I'm really excited to see where it goes.
Wow. Yeah, that is really exciting. And yeah, if you guys haven't picked it up yet, grab either the print or the audiobook version, because it is really awesome.
I loved the audiobook. It's just, I'm like I tweeted this out I think a week or two ago that I'm one of those people who struggles to read novels just because walls of text just can't hold my attention. I think it's just because I'm more visually oriented.
Exact same way. I have to listen to audiobooks.
Not only that, audiobooks you can read them or listen to them in the car or when you're working or doing other things.
Absolutely, that's a great point, because a lot of people that you need to give them the ability to multitask and consume your content. Like you said, they're always on the move. They're always doing something else. Like as an engineer, I can't read a book and work at the same time. I have to have my attention focused visual, at least on the screen, and an audiobook definitely helps me there. And like while you're commuting, while you're driving, and while you're cleaning the house, you can have an audiobook going. You don't have to sit down and devote all your attention and time to a book. So that's why I want to make sure I had the audiobook ready before I began promoting the book.
Yeah, that's smart. Yeah, because I do, and I love that too, because so many times you never get to get an audiobook version of an indie book. So many times that's just not an option, or it just doesn't happen. So that's really nice to see.
Yeah, and it's all paid for out of my own pocket, so it's all paid for and it's ready to go. So I'm not asking for anything. Just go check it out, and if you like it, let me know.
And it's on Audible, is that right?
That's right. It's on Audible. You can get it through Amazon by searching for Adobe Kroger, Knight Errant, or on Audible. And if you don't have an account, hit me up and I can give you a promo link. And you get 30 days free and a free copy of the audiobook. And even if you don't keep your account, you can keep the audiobook. And I even get a bounty referral fee from that. So you're helping me and you're helping yourself.
Well, that's great. Yeah, definitely check that out. That's awesome. And we'll post a link to that later as well.
Something I think that's worth bringing up about all 3 of our characters is that they're women who have massive chips on their shoulder. 2 women and a girl.
They are not Mary Sue's by any stretch of imagination. They are not a Riri Williams. They are good at what they do, but they are subject to the same rules.
I don't know, like I kind of wrote Maeve that she's terrible at school. Like she has to it's a struggle for her just to get C's.
Oh yeah, well that's me. I mean, I definitely was not a good student. I found school horribly boring, and I was like, this is a monumental waste of my time. Why am I doing this?
She's not bored. It's not that she's bored. She has trouble understanding it.
Well, is she on the spectrum? You mentioned that.
Yeah, I did. That's the kind of a thing I sort of played with because like the thing with changelings is it was kind of a way for people to explain away disabilities. And so that was an idea I just took and ran with. And so it's sort of a thing where she might be autistic. It might just be her face side and her human side don't mesh well. I'm not going to be definite one way or the other.
Well, that's really cool because you can use that as a way for her parents and other adult professionals to completely misunderstand her condition.
Yeah,
because she probably has all these nightmares and her fae and her human nature are meshing, and that it's completely incompatible. And the adults might say, "Hey, this kid needs therapy. This kid needs medication." And trying to suppress that just makes everything worse.
Yeah, yeah. Because remember when I said like part of her is kind of inspired by my younger brother, and he has Asperger's.
Yes.
Yeah, that's kind of where I don't want to say non-committal attitude. It's just more. I'll just say autism for lack of a better term. That's just kind of where it comes from. Just because because he was diagnosed when he was 10 years old, and I mean, like my dad had the right attitude with it. Like he treated my brother like he treated me and my sister. He didn't give him any special privileges or anything. He held him to the same standard, and that helped him out a lot. But still, like. My brother still struggles with things that would be obvious to you or me. They would go over his head, and before he moved in with me, he was like on the verge of having a nervous breakdown. So even though my brother's kind of more or less well adjusted to living with Asperger's, he's told me he'd give anything not to have it.
Well, of course. I mean, it's like people make a joke out of Tourette's, but Tourette's is horrible to live with.
Yeah,
I mean, like,
true.
Yeah, so yeah, like that's kind of the thing. Like, Maeve's quote unquote autism, like sure, it might make her good at something. Like she's got it, but it makes her terrible at everything, at a lot of other things. Like I said, she struggles with being in social situations. She struggles at school. And this isn't a spoiler because this isn't the first issue. Like she legit says, I would give anything not to have this. I'd rather be just like all the other kids around me.
Of course, every kid wants to. I mean, it's really painful for a young child to be socially ostracized. And I can definitely see Maeve growing up with all these strange supernatural things going on, and kids don't understand what the hell's going on. So they just make fun of her, and they don't play with her, and they leave her alone, and that's traumatizing for a young child.
So I think a lot of people will be able to connect with that character. I think.
Oh yeah, definitely, and actually, that's the thing. Like even like there's like so many people have latched onto that. Like even if they're not exactly. Let me put it this way: even if they're not autistic, there's parts of her they can relate to, like just being shy and introverted.
Right. Yeah.
And of course we should probably let Matt tell us what Althea's big chip is. If he's okay with it.
Well, right now, her big chip is that right now I've got this whole idea that you're going to see in the one shot that she has a chip from not being able to save everyone she wanted to save during this catastrophic event that happened about 8 years before the one shot. And the ongoing storyline, I've decided to take her back to before that event so that people get to know her and the events that lead up to that event, as well as the aftermath.
So she has what, survivor's guilt or something to that effect?
Basically.
Maybe a little bit. I don't know if we got some Hellblazer fans here, but maybe like a Newcastle type event.
Yeah.
Something like it.
Okay.
I can tell you this much: she didn't try summoning a demon and end up accidentally slaughtering the whole nightclub.
Okay, well that's a good start.
Yeah, at least she didn't slaughter a nightclub.
Right.
That was because Constantine got cocky and didn't bind the demon.
Those were the days.
Gets even worse because like he summoned that demon to save a girl from being sacrificed by her warlock father, and that demon ended up dragging the girl to hell anyway.
It's a pretty brutal issue, that's for sure.
Yeah, so yeah, that's let me put it. Yeah, whatever. Yeah, Althea's. Althea's Newcastle for lack of a better term. Nothing like that.
But for those of you who maybe aren't familiar with the comics, when we say this kind of Newcastle type thing, what we basically mean is in a really traumatic event that it kind of shapes the character going forward into their future.
Oh yeah, pretty much. Yeah, that's actually a pretty good way of putting it. Yeah.
Batman's parents getting killed. Superman's planet blowing up. Yeah.
Spider-Man's uncle gets killed because he didn't stop that robber when he could have.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point.
Kyle Rayner's girl getting fridged. Sorry, Gail. That was awesome.
Issue 1 has something like that for Jack. I'm not going to let anybody know. I hope somebody picks it up. It's actually really important for the entire series, and nobody's mentioned it. So I'm very curious how subtle it was. Yeah, the coloring even works with it. So yeah, we'll see. I want somebody to bring it up, though. I don't want to be the one to do it.
Do you think someone will get it?
Oh, I hope. I don't see how they couldn't. I even marketed it at the beginning for a while, the whole bit. So we'll see. But yeah, there's one moment like that. But Jack's makeup is thousands of those moments. But that one in particular that made it into issue 1 is
no. I know exactly
important.
what you mean now. Yeah. No. I can't wait for people to read that. That'll be nice. Yeah. Wow. And what an exciting time for people to be backers of Jack Irons. I wonder who will get theirs first.
That's what I'm at. There's when you check out the list I'm sending, guys, there's a few I've marked to prioritize.
Okay.
If you'll go through the whole list and do those first, I'd really appreciate it. But
sure.
There's only a couple. Otherwise, any backers who are watching, I did do it randomly. I didn't do a lot of favors, but there's a few friends, and I hope all the backers understand. And it's only a handful, so it's not going to really affect anybody else. But I just want to make sure the folks who have really been in the trenches with me get what they deserve.
Yeah, that's. I think people would really appreciate that. As a loyal backer, they've stuck with you for a while. So I think getting him that book as soon as possible is going to be really nice.
Yeah, that's the hope. We'll see.
We'll be shipping it on 1 week shipping. So if the book shipped out today, should arrive by next week. So it's pretty fast shipping.
So if it's shipped out today, so in other words, if you got it today, you should get it next Saturday, right?
Friday or Saturday, yeah, I would say so.
Yeah.
And it comes with tracking numbers, so you'll be able to track your packages and find out where they are going, where they're coming from, all that good stuff.
Now, as far as I know, the territories we've got covered are North America and the UK.
I believe we may have a few customers outside. Is that right, Cody?
Oh, for Jack? Yeah. And in fact, the backers overseas have been quicker at getting their address information than many U.S. folks. And so I'm considering hooking them up real early because of that. But Wikid and I will talk off chat and we'll figure out how we want to go about it logistically, because it is a thing. The campaign, as hopefully folks know by now, did not fund the printing nor the shipping, let alone the labor that these folks are going to put into getting these books to you. That's all a gift to my backers through Wikid, and so they and I are going to find a balance, and we'll figure out a good way to return that love they're giving my project and our fans. But yeah, it's a bit of an effort. My campaign wasn't orthodox, so there's been speed bumps, but we're over almost all of them. Definitely all of them, pretty much for issue 1. Last one is to get it to the post office.
Right, that's gonna be where we come in as Wikid Publishing takes over.
Yep.
And we have we got it all planned out. So as I said, we'll be shipping as many out today as possible. So maybe Cody can give you guys an update later today once I'm able to do that.
That would be killer. I'm very curious to see how many you can do, but I don't have to post the number either, so it doesn't matter. But I'm just curious.
Unfortunately, I would do just to let everyone know, the post office closes at 2:00 today, so I'll try and get some out today, but a lot of them will be going out on Monday.
Okay. Yeah, well, there you go, guys. So next week, some folks are going to get their books at the tail end, but the week after, folks are going to end up getting them. So about a week from today, keep an eye out. I'd like folks, if you can, I mentioned it earlier, I mentioned it again because it's been a couple hours, use the hashtag jacked up so I can find the posts real quick and retweet them through the platforms I have access to. And good or bad, that's the point of that hashtag. If you got a shitty book, let us know that it's jacked up.
Exactly. You mind if I just step in here real quick to clarify too? And when you say jacked up, of course we want comments on quality of the content itself, but and more than that, the actual physical quality, like the physical condition of the book. So like if it's torn or it's ripped or it's something's wrong with it, we want to know so that we can get you a better book.
Exactly. Exactly. Or if you're jacked up for Jack, if you're super stoked and you enjoyed the book, use it. I just want to get that running for a little while issue 1's being delivered, just so we can organize it and get a little bit more hype behind it. I want people to see people enjoying their issue 1 and wanting their own. And I've been seeing that for a few months now because I've had to tell a lot of people you missed it. I closed the campaign a little early, but my schedule at that point said do it now. Hindsight, of course, 2020, I would have.
Now, when you say jacked up, when you say jacked up, it's obviously a pun. We're not talking jacked up like, say, Scott Steiner.
Well, I mean,
if you can't look at it that way, guys.
The physical, if you're feeling it, then yeah, sure, why not? but yeah, no, I'm trying to use that just to organize it for a while, and I think it's a fun pun. It'll help people remember.
It's a great pun.
Yeah, and that way it works for both, if we messed up or if we're doing real good. So I want to know either way, of course, absolutely. Folks, even just on if my writing's crap, I jacked up my writing. Just any comments we can get to help further our quality down the line.
What is it again? Sorry. The two options are again?
Oh, what?
For jacked up, or what's the other option?
Oh, it's just jacked up, has two meanings.
Oh, it's a double entendre. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm one of those people who hates puns and marketing, but Cody got I have to give it to him. It's a good one.
That's all I can do. That's my thing.
That's your contribution, huh?
My writing's not great, but I think I can market pretty well. So I'll take it. But yeah, that would be a big help. Anybody listening who backed and is expecting their issues, that'll help us not only spread awareness of both our faults and our what we succeeded, but it will help down the line for me figuring out how to make this better. The book I want. And the book I want is hopefully a book that many, many people want. And if I can tweak ideas and better to make me want it even more, then I think we're doing it right. And this is one way to do that.
Nice.
Always a good way, my man.
Right? Yeah, that's awesome.
Well, because a jacked up way better.
As a quick side note for those who missed the campaign. As soon as all of the physical books have been shipped out and we know that everybody is good to go and are happy with their product as well, we're going to be placing Jack Iron's first issue up on the website as soon as the physical copies are done.
Basically, yeah, that's the plan. But sadly, since we're dependent on the customers reaching me with their address, I'm thinking if that is not done by the end of the year, we will put Jack up on the store anyway, but we will save the issues all throughout 2019 for anybody who's super late and never gets my updates, but eventually gets my updates, or anybody who contacts me asking where their book was, I'll explain.
There we
My
go.
goal is to make sure everybody gets their books, no matter what the time frame is. But we do want to get this issue out to the wider public, so we kind of got to put a date. And my goal is by the end of the new year to have maybe putting the book on for sale, if not at the early into January if we can. That's my thinking. Well, once again, I'm not rigid. I can't be rigid with this indie scene that we got here. So we'll see how it actually goes. But the plan moving forward, as far as I have it worked in my head, is something like that. And I think that's fair. I've been reminding people very often to send in their addresses for like 3 months now since the campaign ended. So, I'm hoping people won't blame me if they didn't get their book because they weren't paying attention to the updates or to Twitter or to Facebook or, specifically, I hope if they did forget, this will be a lesson to pay attention to your campaign updates, because when you're backing an Indiegogo, you're quite often backing somebody who's in the process of making something, and therefore there are unforeseen things that'll happen and change the situation. And if you're not keeping on the ball with that, you may end up being disappointed more than you would have been if you were paying attention. And there's only so much creators can do to get the word out. At the end of the day, it's up to the consumer to actually look at it. And I do my best, but I also don't want to disappoint anybody because I'm limited, and I'm going to disappoint people because I can't reach them. So, if you haven't sent in your address, please do. Your backer ID also, so I can confirm what you ordered. Nobody, and I've gotten 130 addresses so far, nobody's tried to screw me and get a free book, and I am so grateful for that because it's possible. So I have to go back and look and make sure everybody's ordered right and match emails and such. That's something I wouldn't have to do had the campaign been run differently, and something I'm hoping I won't ever have to do again. I'm just appreciative the backers have been so honest, patient, and of course supportive, or else I wouldn't be here.
No, that's great. So yeah, everyone be looking out for Jack Iron soon. You're gonna just love it. I know Cody loves the proof. And,
so much.
I think about the only thing I'm disappointed is that I can't get Jack Irons in time for Christmas.
Aw, you can't bring Jack Irons home for Christmas this year.
Well, Brad, we'll talk. I know Wikid may have over-ordered a little bit. I have a few ideas for some of them, but the main point is to replace some.
Well, how about this, guys?
We'll see.
You get a Jack Irons, and you get a Jack Irons, and you get a Jack Irons. I can officially say here that I will be sending you each and every one of you a care package of comics for Christmas this year. So, rest assured, you will be getting some Jack Irons and some Death.
Better remember to drop
little Wicked Christmas.
DM your addresses then.
Right? Oh. Yeah. Yeah, definitely sending the addresses. Like don't be like the don't do that.
Yeah, I don't need to. Yeah, nobody needs to go doxing themselves.
Yes, please. But yeah, so yeah, definitely. Go ahead, Cody.
It's not the campaign was not the last chance to get Jack, and hopefully, like you said, Brett, most people will have at least the first issue before Christmas. My original plan was to have both issues in people's hands before Christmas. That's one of the many adaptations I've had to make, and I'm hoping for. That's why I'm so happy I didn't have to put a delivery date.
That is pretty cool.
It works out anyway.
But exactly, and as long as we didn't disappoint with this first issue, and everybody who's seen it does not feel so, then I think we've done the right thing the best we can, and I assume backers appreciate that, especially being candid with them, and I try to do my best. I hide some things when there's no need to put it out there because it could be resolved real quick, but anything that's an actual thing I can't do anything about right away, I've always let my backers know.
Okay. Hey guys,
all you can do.
Hey guys, it is now noon on my side of the world, and I got about an hour and a half before I got to show up for work, so I'm going to jump. So I'll
Well,
just.
I think we're
So
about
I'll
to wrap
just.
up here, actually. So why don't we just start with plugs, and you can go ahead and start first.
Okay, then sure. Yeah. If you want to buy Changeling and Urban Fairy Tale, best place to do that is on the Patreon, which is the pinned tweet on my timeline. Which you can find me at Brett1106. I'll put that down in the chat. But yeah, you guys also right here. That's where you guys get. Yeah, just and I'll tell you guys, no matter what tier you sign up for, even if you only put in $1 a month, you get in the Changeling Discord, and that's how you get all the good stuff. I'm only let me put it this way: I am giving you guys appetizers. If you want my Discord has the best stuff, and it's growing. I mean, like I said, I've got about 8 patrons. That's not bad. It's
nice.
And yeah, you can. About the only thing I can't say is just don't pester the art team for commissions if they're busy. Their time is. I'm gonna say their time is more valuable than anyone else's on that server.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, that makes sense. You got to devote your time to your creative team, you know.
Yeah, and I guess if I'm gonna leave off with anything else, I mean, Maeve's birthday is Christmas, so yeah, there's that.
So we getting out of Twitter jail finally.
Really?
That was I set up a Twitter for Maeve, and then just to be a completionist, I was gonna put her birthday in, and unfortunately my dumbass didn't pay it. Unfortunately my dumbass did the math wrong in my head, and so it thinks it's, and so the Twitter thinks she's 13.
Oh damn! And you can't. What's stupid is you can't change that because they think you're lying or something.
Nope. So I basically have to wait for the clock to run out, and then she'll get it back.
She'll get it back. Maeve will be back. Don't worry.
She's had a couple interesting interactions with one of her teachers on Twitter.
Really? Oh man, that's awesome.
Matt and Dan know who I'm talking about.
Yep.
Sounds like it's
I forget.
Maybe save it for the after show.
Let me put it this way. Let me put it this way. If you guys are paying attention, you'll figure it out pretty quickly.
Well, that's great. So look for your project soon. And when can we expect to did you say when we can expect to see it come out?
Like I said, don't really have anything set in stone. My goal is to have it completed within the first half of 2019. So if I want to be pedantic, I guess June.
Okay.
Like I said, I don't know. I don't know that for sure. I'm hoping that all I can say is I can only pay my art team and hope that as we put out more content, that brings in more people.
I'm sure it will. From what I've seen, I love the art that they're bringing back. You know, the colors and the line art work perfectly together. So
yeah, they do. Yeah, and I am so glad I found Victor, and I am so glad that Ginger wanted to work on this. She loves working on this book.
Oh wow, that's cool. That's always good when your creators are really passionate about the project as well.
Yeah, that's like I said, you got that whole creative synergy, and it all feeds into each other.
Yeah, that's very true. Well, thanks for joining us today. You off to work today? Then is that what you got going on for the rest of the day?
Yeah, I get it. Yeah, I work second shift 2 to 11, and my only days off are Monday and Tuesday.
Oh boy.
That's why. Why do you think I only stream with Matt on Tuesday?
Oh wow. Okay.
It's the only time our schedules line up that we can do it.
That's so sad.
Plus literally every other comics devoted channel on YouTube streams on days I can't make, so we just said fuck it, we'll just do one on ourselves.
Hey, that's why our podcast is interesting, because I'm not sure there's really any other podcast on Saturday morning, style. So,
we did we did miss an opportunity last Saturday though.
We did, and we were off a week. We do apologize. We kind of had an off day. I think we were all too full from Thanksgiving turkey or whatever.
Yeah, that's to be expected. I was kind of wiped out after Black Friday.
Yeah, Yeah,
I think it
but
was understandable. You know, I was Thanksgiving, everyone was wasted and in a food coma and all that. So I think it's acceptable.
And we had a great weekend actually. Just to give an update on the podcast, we had a really good weekend on the store. You know, we were having some Black Friday sales. Everything was 30% off, and we had a good amount of sales that day, and a lot of pre-orders for Decimators, the new issue of Decimators, and a lot of fun stuff.
Nice.
So.
yeah, but we could have promoted during Small Business Saturday.
That's true. Yeah, that would have been pretty cool actually. Yeah, I remember thinking that we should have done it, but I didn't even think about it until it was almost too late.
Yeah, yeah, that's completely understandable. Next year.
Yeah, definitely. We'll be there for sure next year. In fact, who knows? Maybe we'll start doing some. Maybe do a holiday episode. Who wants to do a Christmas episode?
Well, we definitely. I'm definitely down for that.
That'd
Same.
be fun.
I am.
No doubt.
Well, that's great. So, who wants to go next on plug? Anyone else got some cool stuff they want to talk about?
I'll just leave so I can get ready. But yeah, see you guys, and
Oh, see you, dude. Well, thanks again for joining us, and
See you,
I can't
Brad.
wait to see what you come up with next, man. So, good luck with everything.
hey, bye.
Bye.
Later.
I need to hop off as well, so I'll go ahead and go real quick.
Sure.
If you want to check out some light slice of life philosophical drama comedy with a little bit of tech mixed in, check out Molly Beans. It updates twice a week, Wednesdays and Fridays, over at mollybeans.com. If you're interested in Adobe Kroger Knight Errant, the novel, it's on Amazon. Just search for that, Adobe Kroger Knight Errant. It's available on audiobook. And if you want to check out the comic, Adobe Kroger Dame Commander, I have a tweet pinned over at Molly_Beans on Twitter, and you can see the art and all the progress. I'll be giving progress out as we have it. And if you're interested in supporting any of my projects, I'm on Patreon at patreon.com/Dan Sacro. Currently, it's Molly Beans centric, but I'll probably be transitioning as the Adobe Kroger projects near completion. And I do have a Discord, but I just don't have the time to set it up properly. So that's coming soon. So yeah, check out all that stuff, and look forward to interacting with all you.
Awesome, dude. Well, thanks for joining us today. I really appreciate it. You having us on, or having you on the stream for the first time. It was really great having you.
Well, thank you so much. I really appreciate you having me on and welcoming me to the Wikid team. And I can't wait to help grow it. And I'll be shouting it from the rooftops. I love all the stuff. I love all the creators here. I love what everyone's making. So can't wait to see more.
Oh, that's awesome, man. That's so great. Well, thanks again, dude. And you have a great day. We'll be talking to you soon.
Absolutely. Certainly will.
See you later. Bye.
Bye then.
Later.
So, who would like to go next? I know, Ibai, you got your Decimators thing going and some other fun projects. Do you want to talk a little bit about what's going on in your world?
Well, yeah, as I said before, I'm working on these two separate projects, The Abductables and Necromancer Tombstone Blues, with Michael Dark, the first one, and Artemis Worm, also known as Jacob Morris, the second one. Keep an eye out for them, because they'll be coming up in early 2019. If you like brutal, gory sci-fi comedies and paranormal thrillers with mythical creatures in it, those are the comics you need to look for. Yeah, you can find me. Well, you can find some other guy who sounds suspiciously like me. That isn't me at all.
But it is not you.
He's not me at all. He's some other guy. At River Channels on Twitter. I also have a Patreon, but it was mostly geared towards Decimators, which I stopped reducing for the moment, so don't worry about that. And yeah, I'll see you guys around.
Awesome. Thanks, man.
It's been a pleasure as always.
And then Matt.
You can check out my Twitter account at Matt Trin. I've got a Patreon going. I've just recently pinned it to my profile page. At 1.5K is when I'll be able to produce Mythix as a monthly comic rather than every once in a while. So hopefully you'll get there pretty quickly.
Yeah, you guys got to start building it up, and with what you've got going on, I think I think that's doable. You know, so. The key, I think, will be getting that first issue out, and man, I'm so excited for you.
The one shot I plan on having as a webcomic. So to put in the Patreon component, I'm going to have, with each page, I'm going to have an early release on Patreon, which will probably be on Monday, and then have it released on the webcomic site on Saturday.
Kind of a tiered kind of thing, almost.
Yep.
And when where can people? You say you find you on Twitter. Do you do any other websites, any other social media?
Not at the moment. I'm going to be working on converting my Facebook to a careers page.
Nice. That sounds cool.
Yep.
So yeah, look out for your projects, man. What can you tell us? Any final words for your fans and people looking forward for your project?
Well, when people were talking about fan art earlier today, I'm going to say I got one thing that I don't think anyone has ever had during the first round of fan art. But Avid Comic Reader actually made a sculpture of the Lexington.
Whoa, really?
Yep.
That sounds cool, man. I'd love to. Do you have pictures?
Yeah, I posted them on Twitter a while back,
nice.
but I'm going to retweet that.
Yeah, you should. I would love to check that out, man. That sounds really cool. Man, that's got to be a first, yeah.
Well, closest thing I've got is that model revolver that
That's sweet.
model
That's a sweet
C13
thing,
made.
man.
Nice. I had a fan once paint a squad of miniatures. I can't remember which game they were from. I think they were Infinity, something like that. And she asked me through private message on Facebook about the color scheme of the Decimator armor, because she wanted to put in figures if they were Decimators. And I was humbled beyond belief.
Very cool.
That's so nice. Yeah. What are the colors of the Decimator's armor?
I never decided. I think they're black and white, like stormtroopers. But they're probably just like stormtroopers. They paint them on different colors depending on which environment they're operating on.
It really is interesting because it is a black and white comic. You can kind of think about it any way you want, really. It could be black
I think the basic color scheme is like a stormtrooper, black and white, and then they just paint them if they're gonna operate on the desert, they just paint them yellow or whatever. They're gonna operate on the jungle, they just paint them camel.
Yeah, I would see that. Yeah, that's an interesting point. That she wanted to know that. You really wanted to see if you had an idea of what that was.
Yeah, since I always thought of the comic as black and white, I never paused to think what color the armors will be. I just thought of the design.
And now the Jack Irons pistol, was that painted as well?
Yeah, it's completely painted and assembled. I have the picture up. I retweet once in a while with the round of fan art I do, my fan art gallery, so people can check it out there. Usually the fan art gallery is not too far down my timeline, but depends on the week. Some weeks it gets buried, some weeks it doesn't. So you can go look for it. Otherwise, it'll show up eventually. But it's a beautiful thing. Model did a great job out of it. All out of wood. And
is this Indiegogo
crafted?
Sorry.
What? Excuse me.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. But is his Indiegogo still going on?
I don't want to say it is, but I believe I don't want to promise it is, but I believe it is. I know he was working. He had the coin batches to fund a 3D printer, so he could start doing miniatures as well.
Yeah, definitely.
I know Jack had a coin there in one of the groups. If anybody's interested, he does a lot of cool stuff, and he did a Jack 3D model a long time ago. So there's a possibility of getting an actual statuette. But yeah, you guys really should support. I believe it's Model C13 on Twitter. I could be a little wrong. It is definitely Model. If his Indiegogo is still going, please get it. It did not get the attention it deserves with all the creators it has behind it, and I find that rather disappointing.
316, by the way.
There you go.
Yeah.
I think it's over.
Is it over? Darn.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
well, there you go. I'm sure
he's a great guy.
Try again.
Oh yeah.
And yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, he'll be at it again. Don't worry. You'll see him back and in a different way. And he's a great guy. We've had the chance to talk with him, and so I know he's got a lot of really exciting things in store. So please follow him and check him out.
Yep.
And then Cody, why don't you go ahead and plug up into your stuff a little bit?
Alrighty, well, main thing I mentioned earlier that I'm trying to push at the moment is Cactus Coyote. It's exclusive on our Patreon at the moment. 9 pages in, $1 will get you access to all of them, plus the storyboards, plus a lot of other fun stuff. Character designs. We have 2 full issues of storyboards out there, so you can kind of see where it's going and how much it's changed from storyboard to page. I also find that kind of a fun thing because the intro is completely different now, and it's so much better. But we wanted to have our storyboards, and he wanted to pitch me it to make sure it was kind of fitting for everything, and it was a great way to do it. So that's some fun stuff to check out if you want to check out some manga storyboards. I'm pushing Cactus Coyote at such a cheap price too. I want a lot of backers. I'm hoping to get I don't really have a funds goal. I think I set it to $300 a month, and we'll see what we can do, basically, because there's so many directions I could grow. One of the first things I want to do is be able to have a decent live streaming and recording set up, so I can maybe start getting a YouTube presence. But at the moment, my current rig just doesn't do it, so I haven't been able to. But who knows? That's one thing. Print issues of Cactus Coyote down the line is another possibility. There's currently the main thing I think's the high value ticket at the moment, besides Cactus, is the concepts and start of Jack. There's a lot of unique things going on with issue 2 that you would know if you're at least, I think, a $5 patron. You'll kind of know a lot more about the Jack Irons universe than the normal person. Wow. Probably even more than Wikid at the moment. And,
hey, I gotta get in there, man.
Yeah, I'm hoping. I can't. I've gotten one new backer, and it wasn't even off of Cactus Coyote. So really? It's a heck of a thing. It's interesting. I'm hoping eventually people get issue number 1 of Jack and they want to see what else is going on, because I don't touch on the aliens in issue 1 basically at all. They're just kind of there. So a lot of people assumed he's in space. He's not in space. There's a lot of little things like that you can learn and see more. And I'm really hoping that that's something. If people don't want it, though, we'll figure it out. But Patreon's the main thing that could help us right now. Second thing is our merch store. Actually, today during the stream, I sold a T-shirt, so that was pretty cool.
That's awesome.
There's, it's a little bit of help, and then also it gets the brand out into the world, which is almost more important to me than that little kickback through Teespring that I get for putting the designs up there. So that's another great way. All kinds of stuff on there, mainly really good shirts, but there's mugs, there's even leggings, a couple cell phone cases that are unique. Lots of cool stuff. I hope people consider, at least. Prices on those kind of websites are a bit high, but that's because you're supporting a creator like myself, and Teespring wants its cut. So, business. But that's another way. And then hopefully in the near future, it'll be through Wikid Publishing by buying issue 1 and 2, and through a future crowdfunding for issue 3, and who knows what else at that point. With issue 2's release, like I said earlier, a whole nother character gets introduced that I want to start at least having a mini issue in the back of Jack. But again, we have to get that far. So if you like our work, you like what we're trying to do, and you believe I can do it, find a way to support us, and I guarantee we won't let you down.
Nice. That's awesome, man. We're so excited for Jack Irons, and we know that you got so much planned for it. So the future really, the sky's the limit with Jack Irons. There are so many different, and if you don't know, people might even realize it's going to be so expansive and go in so many different directions,
It really is, and my goal with the series is to be able to open up almost an open source Marvel universe where any decent writer can write some kind of story and it will feasibly fit within Jack Irons, and they can use the weight of the franchise to further their own power without having to go through the same amount of hoops anybody who would otherwise. Because I'm not so worried about canon because the world is super loose, and we're going to have our own continuum. So if somebody wants to go back and do a life where Jack was a slave, they can do that. And it will be canon because Jack had that life. He has thousands of lives. Who knows what he's lived and done. And I'm hoping that'll open it up and get writers like, ooh, I can write a Jack Irons story. Maybe he'll give me a boost. Here you go. And it's a symbiotic relationship. But who knows? Once again,
that's Ironverse comic. That's what it's all about.
That's about that. That's why there's so many titles under it already. I want to pass on the mantle eventually.
One of my favorite ones I'm looking forward. If I don't think that the title's a secret at this point. I believe you've mentioned other places, but the Golden Monk is one I'm really looking forward to.
Oh, it should be some fun. We've tinkered a lot with him. There's a few directions. It's going to be Jack mainly takes place. So Monk's going to be at the same time frame as Jack Irons, but in Asia, Europe, and Africa instead of in North and South America. So it's the different world, and it's a whole different territory of one of our four main villains. And I can't spoil them yet. It's pretty obvious if you've seen the images what they are, which is great, but they look really cool. Maxie did a great job. And they are the linchpins of the Ironverse. They're the one constant, are these four villains. No matter where you are and who's the main character, they're the ones causing all the trouble and strife. And so they're almost the main characters of the Ironverse more than Jack is.
Wow.
so
Jack's
we'll see.
Just an observer in a way. Almost.
He's an observer, a passer through, and eventually he'll be an active participant. But as you can see, even in the first issue, the trouble came to him. He wasn't there. He wasn't
looking for it.
Yeah. So eventually that changes, though. Hopefully by the end of this first arc. But gotta get there.
Ooh, exciting things coming.
Yep.
That's awesome. So go check him out on Twitter, and go check out his Patreon and really help support him out.
Yeah, Twitter, it's at @cowboy_steel. Patreon, it's you can just look up Ironverse Comics on Google. You'll probably pull it up, but it's also Patreon/Jack Irons the Steel Cowboy. And then there's my Facebook, which is also Jack Irons the Steel Cowboy. And then we have a promo page on Facebook for the comic that's I believe Steel Cowboy 33 is the tag on Facebook for that. I'm not always on Facebook, but I'm putting it out everywhere, and you get all the same information you get on Twitter, but less frequently. So if you guys just have Facebook, you can still find me there. I still respond and talk and engage, but less so than Twitter. So Twitter's your best bet if you want more of me or Ironverse Comics.
Sweet. Do it, people. You heard it, man. So we're wrapping up today. I just want to say, you can follow me on my personal account at NubGuy. I post a lot about movies and anime and other just fun stuff. And then follow me and Matt on Wikid Publishing at Wikid Publishing, where you can find all the updates on all the new comics and all the releases and everything coming out from Wikid Publishing. And Matt, do you want to tell them how they can follow you personally?
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at MattB_Sulos, SULOS. And I mainly post a lot of my art and a lot of Wikid stuff as well, and anything I find interesting. You can also follow me on Instagram at Sulos_MB. That's just going to be mainly my art. On that account, that's just strictly art for me. If you have any commissions you would like to do for art, just go ahead and DM me directly or find a way to get in contact with me. Stay tuned for more Project R and Dissolution 2030. And also keep an eye on the website as well, wikidpublishing.wixsite.com/comics. So that this way because we're rapidly building it up and redesigning it as we go. New things are coming on down the line as well.
And you can also check out our store at squareup.com/store/Wikid Publishing, and that you can get all the current releases in print and a ton of cool merch like some posters and prints and some even new stuff we got coming on the way. So check back frequently for new products on there. And I just want to say thanks for all our creators for joining us today. It was a lot of fun. I had a ton of fun today. It was a really good conversation.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you for having me.
It was great.
And look forward to the newest releases of Jack Irons. If you're a backer, you'll be getting that soon. We're starting shipping today. And be on the lookout for the newest print edition of Decimators with all the cool bonus material. There's a lot of good stuff coming out in the next month.
Yay.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And thanks again, guys, for watching. And we will see you next time on the Wikid Publishing podcast. You guys have a great time. And enjoy your weeks off or whatever you're doing.
Later,
Have
a wicked time, folks.
Right.
See you later, everyone.